Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the riddles inside Goblet of Fire, Chapter 30, The Pensive.
Oh, we got ourselves what I can only describe is probably a tight chapter. You know,
it's a real, we'll probably be out of here lickety-split,
Right, it's a good thing we started here at the end of the day
for
this recording session.
The end of the day being not even 2 o'clock. Somehow I bet it's quitting time by the time we're done.
It feels like there's a decent possibility. Of course, the listeners at home know exactly how long it is. However, the Pensive is an important chapter.
It's extremely important.
It is long and thick in terms of the amount of lore that we're about to get about the history of the Wizarding world. We're about to get some very interesting information about Barty Crouch Jr., some interesting information about Severus Snape.
About Ludo Bagman.
Yes.
Eagle Karkaroff.
Yeah.
We also get introduced to the magical object that is the Pensive.
Right. And the Pensive is sort of like it's got its own bizarre history that there are certain items within the Wizarding world. I would count the Mirror of Erised one of them. I would count the Veil one of them. I would count the Pensive one of them. Mm-hmm. These are all objects that seem to somehow predate even the founders of Hogwarts.
Well, because I want to say the deep lore here is that once upon a time, Rowena Ravenclaw had a dream about a boar running up a cliffside, and then they followed that dream and they found the cliffside and they dug where the boar was and they found the Pensive, and that's where they built Hogwarts.
Yeah, which I mean, to me, especially given what the Pensive does, it almost to me reads as sort of like a time capsule or like a message in a bottle from someone else. This is an object that has long been hidden.
Yeah.
And that, or it's a manifestation of magic itself.
I mean, who knows? It's got a bunch of different ancient runes on it and stuff.
It does indeed. I mean, and I guess to be fair, it's as far back in history as the Wizarding world seems. As far as we know, with the founders being born in the 900s, the 10th century, it feels like a millennium is forever, but even with recorded human history, it's not that long,
right?
Which certainly opens the door for there to be some type of Harry Potter story that ancient Rome times.
So far back.
Yes. Yeah. So, anyway, it's not like this chapter really spends too much energy on the history or, the lore associated with the Pensive, but it is a deeply important object, obviously. And again, with that message in a bottle sentiment, because you can pour memories into it, part of you almost wonders if there was information, or even if the founders discovered information in the Pensive when they dug it up.
I know, yeah. Were there memories in there, a message forward in time?
Yeah. Because it's kind of chilling when you think about it, because it's that means that whoever that group of wizards was left it there, kind of hoping that one day it would be discovered.
On purpose. And of course, I'm sorry, we said that's where they built Hogwarts. What I mean is that's where they fought a dragon and transfigured it into Hogwarts.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we
don't
were. Yeah. Hogwarts.
Let me clear that up for you.
Hogwarts, canonically, a dragon.
Especially on this show.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I feel like that's the way, that's a t-shirt that we need to make. It's just the words, Hogwarts is a dragon.
Hogwarts is a dragon.
Because then anybody out, on the pavement, the streets, the sidewalks,
out on the streets,
as it were, it's if you were to pass a fellow Hogwarts is a Dragonite, individual.
Hogwarts is a Dragonite.
Yeah.
The Pokemon.
No. It's like that's what, instead of, we, at one point in time we tossed around Gryffindorks, but maybe really what we all are is Hogwarts is a Dragonites.
Hogwarts is a Dragonites.
Yeah. And then that way it's you can know that you've got a fellow, brother or sister in arms, as
exactly.
it were.
There they were, they listened to the show.
They listen to the show.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the Pensive for you guys. We're going to get to go inside of this chapter, which basically is going to begin exactly where we left off with the last chapter, where Harry has found his way to Dumbledore's office. He has been waiting outside of the door. He has been listening in on a conversation that's taking place between Cornelius Fudge and
Moody and Dumbledore.
That's exactly correct. They had just tossed around the sentiment that like, oh, well, maybe it's Madame Maxine, like, you know, and Cornelius has the absolutely ridiculous sentiment that is, I think it is, I'm so sorry here. I got the wrong line wrong. Cornelius accuses Dumbledore of prejudice in favor of half giants because of Hagrid. And it's sort of like, oh my gosh, you were the...
He's so backwards.
It's so backwards. It's so broken. It's so frustrating. But you know, his demise is you know, it's just around the corner.
Just around the corner. Yeah. So then we get we're on to the Pensive. What do you think of the chapter art for this one?
I would regard this as top tier chapter art.
I said very good. Has a sense of epicness about it.
It really does. We get what I think is just a tremendous depiction of Harry. I think one thing I really like about it is that he has like, you know, Harry, as far like we know will grow a lot in the years to come, but I feel like this is depicting a version of Harry that isn't like the cape wearing fighting the Dementors chapter art where you're sort of like a cape.
Like,
why is he wearing a cape? Like to me, he's got an expression on his face that demonstrates the weight that this young boy has on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he doesn't look scared, but he doesn't look enthusiastic. He just sort of looks like sullenly determined, maybe. This is like what I would columnize as like tattooable in terms of like, yeah, I think it's like top tier.
Top tier. Yeah, I think this one's very good. I do think his glasses reflected in the Pensive kind of make it look like he's staring at a bowl of just 2 eggs.
I will not lie to you. I didn't, as much as I was just giving it praise, I didn't even notice. I thought they were just bubbles in the cauldron, but now that you mention it, you can also see his nose reflected back a little bit as well. So he's absolutely looking at his own reflection in the Pensive. Okay, so that's a detail that just skated right over my head, but good catch.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So anytime you see the chapter art, you too can think, hey, why is there 2 eggs in there?
So maybe here's the real tattoo inspiration just to throw out into the world is everybody gets this tattoo, but everybody has a different dish tattooed into the bowl.
Oh,
you know, and like that's the way you modify it. That's the way you make it your own.
Yeah. Like what food's in that dish?
Right. So you could just have like a salad or you know, like
some cereal,
just some
alphabet soup.
Put like a little like box of not Chex Mix, but like I don't know, toasted Crunch.
Yeah, Toasted Crunch.
Why can't I not think of any cereals?
Captain Crunch.
Frosted Mini Wheats.
There you go.
Wow, that was an epic failure on my part. It's probably because it's warm in here today.
It is. I mean, I know. It is a warm day in the room we are recording in.
Yeah.
But you know, we're gonna make it happen.
There you go.
All right. So the chapter begins just a short 10 minutes into the episode. The door of the office opened. And then the dragons arrived, which just makes it sound like the dragons were like in the room.
Yes, it does. This reminds me a lot of the scene where they open the door and Fluffy's behind it.
Yeah. The door of the room opened and there was a 3-headed dog.
Yeah, that wanted to bite your head off. Yep. Hello, Potter, said Moody. Come in then. It's like a little rich of Moody inviting a student into Dumbledore's office.
That's exactly what I said. Yeah, sure, just invite him in. Yeah, it's up to you. All right, whatever.
Right, yeah. You have a higher authority standing right next to you, but whatever. Yeah.
Not your office.
If anything, he is the lowest ranking person in the room.
Absolutely.
By a country mile.
Yeah. Yeah, like a retired or come on now.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, and then you get the reminder that Harry had actually only been in Dumbledore's office just once before, which to me, this is crazy that Harry's only been in the office once before.
Dude, yes. This is a kind of data tracking that feels like, I mean, maybe if you were on like your first pass, this would just be like, yeah, of course. Like he's only been there once before, the time that Fawkes died.
Yeah. It's the time when he like puts the sorting hat back on and he's like, you would have been great.
Yeah. Maybe what's getting me is just that such the big scene in Chamber of Secrets at the end where he's in Dumbledore's office and Dumbledore's like showing him the sword and all that. Like, that must not take place in Dumbledore's office?
It does not. I think in the movie it does, but canonically it takes place in McGonagall's office.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct.
Yes.
Yep. So I think that maybe was throwing me off a little bit, but you're right. And then I'm trying to think, then the other conversation that he has, no, it's at the end of Prisoner of Azkaban where he's in Lupin's office, and then Dumbledore comes in and talks to him there as well. And
instead,
so once again, you're in a teacher's office, but not in
Dumbledore's office.
Right.
It's crazy because you're going to spend a ton of time in this room.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the near future.
And realistically, I think it's a room that Harry should eventually spend even more time in when he eventually becomes headmaster of Hogwarts.
After serving as a career defense against the dark arts professor.
Yeah. That would be best case scenario.
That would have been, might have been better, but whatever.
That's okay. Head of the Ward of the office, of course. Yeah.
That's, just go work for the people who just corrupted everything for a long time. It's cool.
Yeah, maybe, but he's upholding it.
But he's upholding it. They're fixing it there. Anyway, Cornelius Fudge is there, standing behind Dumbledore's desk, wearing his usual pinstripe cloak, is holding his lime green bowler hat, which Ben, they cast Cornelius Fudge for the first season of the Harry Potter show on HBO.
Yep.
Which is interesting because Fudge actually isn't in the first book at all. So it's sort of like, what are they going to do with him? We're going to get some extra scenes.
Yes. It's very curious because I think when the films came out, they didn't have the opportunity of knowing how the entire story unfolded.
Yeah.
And so now the very curious question is whether or not we're going to be seeing things that are harkened back to later. So, for example, I think is there a chance that we would see Fudge interacting with the other minister, for example, having the conversation about the fall of Voldemort, and kind of setting the tone for these are the kinds of meetings that we're going to see more of in the years to come, i.e. when Sirius Black escapes from Azkaban and he has to show up again to say hey, by the way, this convicted killer is he's on the loose and we're doing our best, but and then obviously there's the final meeting that we see in Half-Blood Prince where he's basically showing up to be well, I've been sacked.
Could they just draw that out and show you it happening each time?
Exactly.
The beginning, Fudge is back here, talk to this guy again.
Right.
Yeah, that could be very funny. Or even things when Harry gets his wand, now because eventually they started having everyone have these very stylized wands. But in the early Harry Potter, the first movie, it's just everyone just basically has a wooden stick.
Wooden stick, yeah.
But now they can be all right, each person's wand has to be cool and stylized the moment they get it.
Right.
From the beginning. Or the Deluminator. It's that shows up in the first, chapter and then sure enough goes on to be really important.
Right.
But if you're designing that movie prop in book one before the Deathly Hallows came out, you might be just little cigarette lighter thing, I guess,
Right.
Probably doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Phantom Menace when the little communicators in Star Wars are the Gillette razors or whatever.
Yes.
It's once you see it, you can't unsee it. Anyway, so then as we scoot forward, though, we got Fudge, who still has a very positive sentiment towards Harry. It's Harry, how are you? Jovially. And then Harry responds, Fine.
Harry lied.
Yeah.
Wow. Lying to the Minister of Magic. Good for you, Harry. Good instincts.
Way to go.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the night when Mr. Crouch turned up on the ground, said Fudge. It was you who found him, was it not?
It was. What nice flattery. Way to include Harry in the situation immediately.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see here. Go ahead.
Let's see. So Harry, then he immediately just undercuts Fudge and it's just oh, by the way, I definitely overheard you. Didn't see Madame Maxime anywhere and she'd have a job hiding, wouldn't she?
Yes. And I love the little Dumbledore smiles at Harry behind Fudge's back, his eyes twinkling. It's
I know. He's Harry, yay!
He's my boy.
I didn't even expect to see you tonight. Now you're in here just bashing Fudge. Wow.
You are proving all of my instincts exactly right.
I know. It's what a treat for Dumbledore.
Harry, you brave boy.
Yes.
Let's see. Then Fudge is sort of embarrassed, and he's well, we were about to go and take a short walk around the grounds, Harry. If you'll excuse us, perhaps if you could just go back to your class. And it's he's clearly trying to reassert himself, I think, a little bit here as
right.
I am the Minister of Magic after all.
Yeah. Excuse me, Dumbledore, calling me prejudiced, and then Harry Potter walking in the room being I think you're a little prejudiced.
It's like Fudge. Read the little room.
Read the tiny circular room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Harry chimes in. I wanted to talk to you, Professor. And let's see. Harry said quickly, looking at Dumbledore, who gave him a swift, searching look. Do you think this is a little bit of occlumency going on?
Or
here?
legitimacy?
Yeah,
I definitely think so. He's like, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, like it's possible this is more important than what's happening here. Hold on, zap. Let me X-ray your whole body real quick and. Yep. This is going to be important.
This is going to be important. This is going to count. So he just tells Harry to wait for him here and that the examination of the grounds will not take long, which is shocking because the grounds at Hogwarts are huge. So I can't imagine what kind of examination they're doing unless Dumbledore is like, my examination is going to be seeing Fudge out the door.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's just
pretty
like,
much.
I'll walk him out. I'll be right back.
Yeah, getting him out there. Especially because apparently Moody searched the entire grounds last night in the entire area and didn't find anything.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So he claims.
Of course, we know that's not true.
Right.
Yep. But do you think when he does this, there's any it doesn't say it here, but it's like, do you think Dumbledore intends Harry to see the Pensive? Because this is sort of the moment where Dumbledore would have to be like nudge the cabinet or something.
It would not seem unlike Dumbledore in a multitude of ways, because what he's going to say is that he was interrupted while examining his thoughts and I think rather clumsily put it away and must have failed to latch the knob on the door or whatever. And he seems to understand with Harry almost immediately that of course, curiosity, would happen to any of us.
Right.
Almost as if he fully gets, he fully understands, he fully expected maybe for Harry's curiosity to do this exact thing. And
he also isn't mad at Harry for doing it. And then he even shows him Bertha Jorkins and a bunch of, he just starts using it in front of Harry. He doesn't mind at all that Harry saw this stuff.
Right. So the real question is whether or not just like Dumbledore's kind of classic little imperceptible winks, or the Harry could have sworn he saw Dumbledore's mustache, twitch a grin.
Or even when he says oh, I must have mistakenly left it open. It just sounds like he's just making an obvious excuse that he didn't do. Just oh, I have temporarily gone deaf,
Yeah. No. And I think the answer to that is yes. To me, this feels like a flick of the wand behind his back as he's getting, through the rustling of cloaks and such, the clunking of Moody's leg as he's walking out, just sort of and open that thing. Yeah. Because it also seems when people enter Dumbledore's office, we have a classic way that this happens. People don't get to just open the door into what is effectively his home, his living quarters.
Yeah.
There's when you enter the headmaster's office, there is the enter moment.
Yeah.
That Dumbledore has.
Yeah, because you have to give the password to the gargoyle, then go up the steps, then go through another door,
and then be permitted entry. And so my thinking here is that it would be quite unlikely that Dumbledore was so rushed that he would fail to put away such an important artifact. So this feels like key Dumbledore's big plan moment. Even if Harry's visit is unanticipated, he basically does what he does with Harry a lot. He gives him the invisibility cloak and he hopes that Harry will venture out in the night and find the Mirror of Erised.
Yeah.
And he does.
Right.
He is permitting Harry to travel through the trap door to take a stab at confronting Voldemort.
Right.
And Harry does. There are these moments where I think all Dumbledore knows he can do is set Harry up for success and hope that he follows through. And I think that that's where these two vibrate at a similar enough frequency. They make a good partnership. It's a good mentor apprentice situation that things like this will work.
Yeah.
I've talked myself into it completely. He 100% meant for Harry to find it.
Oh, yeah. That's my opinion too.
Okay.
It's just there's not a mention of a swift, a breeze coming through the room or something.
And that feels like it's missing, but and I would love for it to be there because it would mean exactly what we're asserting.
Right.
But then we also wouldn't have to discuss it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so there's that.
No, I think I also think he intended Harry to go down in there.
Yes.
Yes. But then Harry reintroduces himself to Fawkes. This is one of those, this particular reading by Jim Dale, I feel like he says hello really funny. He's like, "Hello, Fawkes.
Hello, Fawkes.
Hello, Fawkes."
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all. Anyway,
that's
every
the full
time when I
commentary.
read it, I was just like, "Oh, this one." I always hate the way he says it this time.
No, I think it's later that you could be thinking of when he comes back from the maze and he lands on his leg. And I think that's when he says "Lo Fawkes."
Oh.
And it's literally spelled L-O Fawkes.
Oh, well then I might be corrected.
I know. Yeah. I was trying to find it, but it's hard to find
A single page.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
2-word,
Right.
2-letter word
Right.
at random. Well, while you look for that, the whole point of him, we get like a little reminder on Fawkes that it's Dumbledore's phoenix, standing on its perch, the size of a swan with magnificent scarlet and gold plumage. It swished his long tail and blinked benignly at Harry. The whole point of this little just like paragraph there is a quick reminder for priori incantatem later, because you're going to find out that the tail feather in Fawkes's wand, or the tail feather in Harry's wand, came from Fawkes. So this is just like a reminder, like, oh yes, they have like the gold plumage, and that that's where the twin cores are going to come from.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that this book in particular, especially probably because it was so long compared to the others, will frequently be doing the same trick, which is finding a way to bring something that you may have forgotten about back to your attention.
Right.
And yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's sort of like, hey, Fawkes, this matters. This is important.
Yeah.
And that brings about a piece of curiosity to me, which is always sort of this like, if the idea is to like have an occasion for Harry to go back so that Fawkes can be reintroduced to the situation, so that we can be kind of like gently nudged rather to this moment. It's sort of like, was the Pensive created so that there was a reason? Like what came first?
Oh no, definitely. I don't think that's because that's not the purpose of this chapter. It's just it's just a good way. Like, oh yes, let me remind you as well
to incorporate it.
It as well. But like this is why the Fantastic Beasts movies, like, I so badly wish they were finished, because this is one of those mysteries where it's like Dumbledore will tell Harry that like Fawkes's tail feather is in his wand, and it's like all that ends up being is a cool piece of trivia. Like, it's like, why is it relevant that Dumbledore owned Fawkes? It's like and like the fact that it happens to be Fawkes is cool, but that's about it.
I come back to the same thing that I may have expressed before, at least in private. I don't know if I've expressed on the podcast, but like, to me, I almost think that there's this like yin and yang echo that seems to be like permeating throughout the wizarding world, because the amount of parallels between Dumbledore and Grindelwald's feud and sort of like Grindelwald's position and seizing of power and the relationship between the wizarding and magical community and stuff like that. Like it just feels like Harry and Voldemort are the second coming and sort of the conclusion to something that kept trying to find its way back to the surface.
Yeah.
And it's almost like all the way through to the fact that like Dumbledore, who was supposed to or could have been the first iteration of this exact saga, has the bird that provides the feathers that go on to be vital in the fight between these two people.
Yeah.
Which it's like, how does it keep happening?
How does it keep happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what is it going to happen again? And then would Harry be involved?
No, I sure hope so.
Yeah, of course.
Kind of feels like he has to be.
Yeah. I mean, if Dumbledore was involved and then he's the mentor to the next round, it's like, well, Harry was the next round, so he has to be mentoring the next one, right? That's the chain of events.
That's the chain of events.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so we get there, and he says he felt much calmer somehow now that he was in Dumbledore's office, knowing he would shortly be telling him about the dream, which is just like, it's like it's interesting how Harry, just being in Dumbledore's like general aura, feels so much calmer. Like, he's a very reassuring person.
And I have no idea, because I feel like this is such a thing. Like, sometimes, like when I'm like sick, once I've walked into the doctor's office, I feel better.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if like that's a thing, but like maybe it's just because I am like inches away from like being told one way or another where I am at.
Right.
Like, the people here, can help me.
Right. Yes.
If there's something that feels so much safer than just being simply like feeling miserable in your bed at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's sort of the same effect that's happening here. Let me also get a reminder on what happened to the Sword of Gryffindor. So there's a glass case next to it, held a magnificent silver sword with large rubies set into the hilt, which Harry recognized as the one he himself had pulled out of the Sorting Hat in his second year. That the sword doesn't really come into play that much in this book, but it will start coming into play big time in the near future.
Yes, indeed. Yes, because the sword obviously now contains the basilisk venom, which is going to be, paramount in defeating several of Horcruxes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
Pretty essential thing there. Of course, I wrote like a little note here on my page, but I always, because we have the Sorting Hat sitting right next to the Sword of Gryffindor, I just love the wordplay that is like the sorting hat, the sword in hat.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it works so well. I don't know if it was intended, but it works out in the end.
There's also like a little link here. I feel like in the next sentence it says he was gazing at it, remembering how it had come to his aid when he had thought all hope was lost. And I don't feel like that is a mistake, because that is exactly what is going to happen later in this book with his own parents in the graveyard. Like, Harry is just sort of surrounded on all sides by enemies. Voldemort is dueling him, and when all hope seems lost, boom, his parents will start coming out of the wand.
Right.
Like, I feel like we talked about this earlier in the show, where it's just like there's like a certain amount of like is this like a Dumbledore? It's not like a Dumbledore thing. Or is this like a power of like love or something? It's like help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who need it or something. Like Harry, like the sword comes to him. His parents come to him. Like anytime he's in like extremely dire situations, things happen.
Right. Like is that like? Well, I mean, I can't tell if this. We made a video about like magical sentience or possibly like Hogwarts being sentient itself. I don't know if like maybe that's like or even like the Force, like again to make like a Star Wars reference, but it's like that balance is like almost like trying to like right itself.
Yeah,
where it's like if things are going to be like so bad, then like something so good is going to have to come from it because that's how it works. Yeah. Right.
And then I am positive you have the same note written about me or written down as I do here. It says he saw a patch of silvery light dancing and shimmering on the glass case. He looked around for the source of the light and saw a sliver of silver white shining brightly from within a black cabinet behind him.
No, I don't.
No? Oh, okay. To me, it sounds like when he's staring down at it, and I think it totally makes sense too, is that like the way the memories are described in the Pensive is very similar to how like a Patronus is described. Which makes sense though, because to make a Patronus, you have to focus on a happy memory, and then it comes out of your wand.
Yes.
Like as the big guardian shape. So it makes sense that literal memories look like a Patronus.
Yes.
Because they're like, that's the magic that makes them.
It's like the source material.
It's the source material.
Right.
Yeah. It's like,
okay.
that's like, it's like, is that intentional? Cause like it is a very cool little bit of continuity.
No. That is extremely good. Yeah. It's almost like whatever you place into the Pensive is sort of like the raw ingredients that becomes your Patronus.
Right.
And actually even this description, the thing that as you were saying it and kind of like looking at me, I was like, it also vaguely does remind me of another Patronus moment, which is when the doe shows up to Harry and he's basically seeing like the sliver of silver off in the distance, which is the doe,
which leads him to the sword.
Yeah.
And now the sword is leading him to the Pensive.
Right. Yes. These objects seem connected.
Almost. And then it's like even if you want to say like it's Snape's Patronus who leads him to the sword, and then later like Snape gives him the memories which he brings to the Pensive,
Yes, right. Yeah. It's like a freaky circle.
It's like a freaky circle, yeah.
That's awesome. That is, I mean, we're definitely,
There's something, there's stuff happening there.
There's a string to be tugged on, and I'm sure we're going to find it as soon as we finish recording today's episode.
I'm sure we are. There we go. And then we get a description of the Pensive. A shallow stone basin lay there with odd carvings around the edge, runes and symbols that Harry did not recognize. So this is just like commentary, is that I just severely dislike the way the Pensive is portrayed in the movies as like a silver disc.
Yeah, it's a very strange, like, I don't know. I don't know what they were going for with that prop design. I want to say in Goblet of Fire, it's not that way.
Oh, it's not.
I mean, unless I'm mistaken, and maybe I am. I know that like when Harry goes to use it in Deathly Hallows, it's almost like a hovering chrome disc.
Yeah, I'm like, why is it chrome? It shouldn't be metal. It's like it's an ancient piece of rock. You know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, this is like natural magic.
I know. And I even like that says odd carvings, runes and symbols Harry didn't recognize. Like that to me, like it even just sounds like Hermione takes ancient runes. I feel like this is even older than that.
That I think the exact same thing. Yeah. Yes, I mean, and that was my note for this thing is that I definitely think that we know that it predates the founders, and so what does that say? Like, how long was it there? What was it doing? Like,
right?
Who was using it before? Exactly.
I don't know.
These are the questions we need answers to.
I know.
Yeah.
And then I absolutely love the description of memories in the Pensive. It says, he could not tell whether the substance was liquid or gas. It was bright, whitish silver. It was moving ceaselessly. The surface became ruffled like water beneath wind, and then like clouds separated and swirled smoothly. It looked like light made liquid or like wind made solid. I'm just like, oh, I love that. Like wind made solid or light made liquid.
I know it is awesome. And it does. I mean, it reminds me of if you've ever played with just like dry ice before and like placed it in water and this sort of like unusual wispy like formations that it makes. That's what I picture.
Right.
It's like the thick clouds of fog and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that can take on
swirling about in there.
Right.
And then I think there's a bit of just sort of like on page like I don't know what the like verbal irony where it says Harry couldn't make up his mind. Which is basically what what Dumbledore's trying to do by using the Pensive is make up his mind. Yeah.
And then here's an interesting curiosity that I had never really like touched on before is whether or not the Pensive has like an allure of its own, because like we've got like the Velas that we've talked about a lot within the context of Goblet of Fire.
Yep.
We've compared the Vela magic to the magic associated with the Imperius curse.
Yep.
But yeah, it says Harry couldn't make up his mind. He wanted to touch it to find out what it might felt like. And it's almost like as if it is like drawing him to it, because this must be the kind of thing where it's like if you're in your headmaster's office and you've opened a cabinet and found what is very clearly like an ancient object, for your compulsion to be, let me interact with this thing.
Yeah.
Like that's surely okay. It's like, no, it definitely, like it can't be okay.
Right.
But it almost seems like it's beckoning him, like it's calling him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, like, I don't know if that's like something that could be part of the magic. Like if even like again, we're talking about whoever used the Pensive, whoever buried the Pensive, or even if it was ever buried on purpose.
That's true, because like the way that dream works, if Rowena like had a dream about where to find it or whatever, it's like it's almost as if the Pensive wanted to be found.
Yes, yeah. Like it's calling to Rowena.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's sending the message to her in a dream that she can then enact in real life. Because
right.
Harry's behavior here otherwise seems surprising to me. Like, it would be like if he walked in there for the first time and he was left unattended and he walked over to the silver instruments and just started like touching them.
Yeah.
Well,
even that, like if you have a bunch of little silver toys on your desk, it's sort of like, well, yeah, I want to touch those.
I mean, you might want to touch them, but
I want to play with them.
But like, would you?
But like, would I? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
Especially because the other thing that happened the last time he was in this office is that Fawkes died.
Yeah, that's true. Harry, I keep leaving you in here. Stuff keeps dying.
It's like, I don't think you're meant for this room.
Well, I don't know. He does smash all of the silver instruments later on.
He does, but he's quite angry in that moment.
Yeah.
I think he's a little more justified.
A little. He's fairly justified in his anger.
Yes, yes. I don't think that the raw curiosity quite is on the same level as when he's like, throwing all of his stuff around.
Yeah,
to Dumbledore's credit, in that moment, he's like, go ahead and destroy my things. I dare say I have too many.
I have too many. Like, stop being so calm, Dumbledore.
Yes.
Oh man! But then I love how he starts out and he's like, I probably shouldn't touch it. Maybe I'll touch it with my wand.
That'll be better.
What about? Well, okay. What about my face?
I'm
going for it.
Yeah.
Head first.
Right. Yeah, because that's exactly what happens next. As he takes out his wand, he prods them. The surface of the silvery stuff inside the basin began to swirl very fast. Harry bent closer, his head right inside the cabinet. The silvery substance had become transparent. It looked like glass.
Yeah, he looked down into it, expecting to see the stone bottom of the basin, and saw instead an enormous room. You know what this also reminds me of is the basin him and Dumbledore visit in the cave. You know, like it's not the only like big stone basin the two of them encounter.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Although that one is the opposite in every way.
It's the exact opposite.
Although
no,
it's not.
It's not.
It makes you relive
your worst memories. Oh, what? What is going on here?
Does the Pensive have a brother?
Does the Pensive have a brother?
Or like
it's
an evil
made
twin?
with a potion? Is it? But like, what would?
What if the basin is required for the potion to work?
Oh, the drink of despair. Maybe it needs the basin.
Like what the drink of despair is doing is drawing like
your worst memories to the surface.
Yes.
Like rather than going into it, you have to take it into you.
Yeah.
Oh, what is going on? Are there runes on that one too?
I wish I had the copy sitting in front of me, but I think
no. Okay, because what I'm thinking of is the cover, the traditional American cover of the first run of Half-Blood Prince, and on the cover, Harry and Dumbledore are standing over a basin which is glowing green, and it has the runes on it, but it is not necessarily clear whether that is the Pensive or the one in the cave. Oh, it's so weird that they act the same, but in opposite.
I know. It's very interesting. I mean, not that the Pensive is specifically meant for positive memories, like because none of the ones that we're visiting here
and
are
like
positive.
Snape puts his worst memory in there.
That's also true. Yeah. But I think that what the Drink of Despair is designed to do is, I mean, it's a lot more elegant than we would normally grant Voldemort with like in terms of like his defenses. This is like understanding that human psychology can be the greatest threat. Yeah. Like your own memories could be the thing that could be like, that could stop you.
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, that's clever.
It is.
For Voldemort.
Do you feel like then though that he made the basin and the Drink of Despair, or just like discovered it?
It's a fair question. I mean, and if you were to make the argument that
because he finds it, he finds it as a kid, and is he drawn to it? Right. In the same way that Harry's being drawn to this one,
because he would have no business being on that rock.
You have no business going down there. Oh my gosh. Oh man, I'm super talking myself into it.
Yeah, I think
it feels so like what are the odds that the cliffs they get to go to one day a year,
right,
happen to contain a giant vast cave? I mean, I guess you could say he built the cave.
Sure. Alternatively, I mean, sure, you could say that. Or he just discovered the room where it happened to exist.
Oh, but you know what? This also, okay, not that I want to give Voldemort any like leeway or anything, but like, here's the other thing is that one of the things I always point to that it's like, you don't even realize how bad Voldemort was, right? Because he's the only one who knows about the Horcruxes, and the lake around the locket specifically is full of Inferi.
Yes.
And it's like, if he's the only one who knows about it and he's the one who made them all, then it means that he killed that many people.
The whole army of Inferi.
The whole army by himself. However, it is possible that the army is not entirely of his own making. It is just there because other people have been drawn to it. Oh, like the Room of Requirement. Like he gets there and like other people have found it, you know?
But again, he thinks he's so clever for being the one to unearth
and
it.
He is able to successfully make it to the center and stuff.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did he master the cave or invent the cave?
Right. Exactly. Oh.
It's tricky because, I mean, we also have the notion, and one thing I have to bring up, even though we're like now a book and a half, 2 books away from the things that we're talking about, but like, I mean, Dumbledore says that all magic leaves a trace, and he can like recognize Voldemort's brand. Like he knows Tom Riddle well enough.
Yeah.
And so that is how he like goes through the entrance.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, even like where like Dumbledore's like maybe even like a little bit disappointed.
And he's like, oh, surely not.
And it's like something as simple as like a blood sacrifice. Like, okay.
A little disappointed. All right, well.
Right. But then on the flip side, the potion.
The potion.
Potion makes up for it.
The potion does make up for it.
Ooh, okay.
But the potion is almost so elegant versus the blood.
Right. So then is the entry Tom Riddle, but the potion is something beyond even him.
Right. Yes.
Merlin's beard.
I think we had a whole theory that Snape created the potion, but I don't know. I don't know now.
Master Potioneer. Yeah.
Master Potioneer. Like that's because like why does Voldemort value him so much if he's never killed anybody? You know?
Right.
Like, what's he done? What's he doing?
Yeah.
I guess maybe just because he's a spy on Dumbledore, but that wasn't the case initially. That's only new. That's a new thing.
Right.
He wasn't a spy the first time.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he didn't kill anybody because Snape is all like, "What of my soul, Dumbledore?
My soul."
Yeah.
Which means he's never killed anybody.
Which means he's never killed anybody, or he wouldn't be so concerned about it.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, maybe the Pensive and the basin and the cave are connected. This is how it happens, people. You guys are like, uh-oh. They're off on a tangent.
They're riffing. We were. Anyway, so Harry is looking down into the Pensive, expecting to see the stone bottom of the basin, and instead, an enormous room below the surface of the mysterious substance, a room into which he seemed to be looking through a circular window in the ceiling. Mm-hmm. So basically, he's like able to take a glimpse into this is kind of like a fascinating way because you also will see Dumbledore pull the memories up and almost be like little like action figures in the surface of it, and then you can dip your face into it and go all the way into it. And this is more almost like looking through like one of those like little viewfindery, like the red things you like look through that have like the pictures, like the little spinning wheel. Yeah. It almost seems like that. Like you can take like a look in, but not look up close.
Right. But actually, you can get very close.
Yes.
Yes. So Harry now, he's like really trying to see through this little window. His nose ends up touching it. And then just like it did with the diary, he gets whooshed inside of it.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Yep. It's a good thing that at least this particular occasion that he gets whooshed somewhere, it doesn't feel like he's being pulled by his navel.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a classic one. I don't know if that's only disapparition and apparition.
I thought it was a port key.
Or is it port key?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always hate that feeling.
Yeah.
Who wants to be yoinked by the navel?
Nobody, I don't think.
Yeah.
Let's see. So he lands in the room, though, and at the very center of it, there is a ominous chair. Chains encircled the arms of it as though its occupants were usually tied to it. Now, what's unique about this chair is that Harry himself is going to be sitting in it in just a few months.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. He's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, are we already there? Are we already at the trial?
Yeah, we are.
We are. You're right.
Feels like a lot happens between now and then. But.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Just how many life-threatening situations will he go through? So many.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The crowd in the mysterious room at the bottom of the basin was comprised of adults, and Harry knew that there were not that many teachers at Hogwarts, so it must be somewhere else. They seemed, he thought, to be waiting for something, even though he could only see the tops of their hats. All of their faces seemed to be pointing in one direction, and none of them were talking to one another.
That's kind of weird that even in this memory, everyone's just sitting there completely silently.
I think it seems like he keeps talking about the different tone of the audience members in each of the various memories. Like sometimes they're like more like lighthearted and jovial, and then other times they're like more serious. This being one of those times. I think this is because Voldemort has not yet fallen yet, and they've got Karkaroff. And
no, he's fallen at this point, right?
Has he?
Yeah, because he's like renouncing him and stuff. Through the Gryffindor is sponsored by Eyewear. Now, look, y'all know we are all about spotting little details, right? Like, per the best of my recollection, this all started way back in 2001 when our dad showed us that you could move around DVD menu screens and find hidden menus that required special button presses on the remote to discover. Like, True story, real thing, super cool. No one's going to know about it anymore because no one has any DVDs, but whatever. That was the thing. Those were cool Easter eggs you could find. But ever since then, we have been obsessed with looking for overlooked details, which is why we are in love with Pair Eyewear, because Pair makes, first of all, just amazing base frames, whether you've got a prescription or just need some really high quality blue blockers, and their digital try-on technology is awesome. You can pop on any frames on your face through your computer screen and get a feel for what the finished product is going to look like in real life. First of all, Pair makes amazing base frames, whether you just got a prescription or just need some really high quality blue blockers, and their digital try-on technology is awesome. Like, you can pop on any frames to your face through a computer screen and get a pretty good feel for the finished product, like in real life. But then there's the toppers, and this is where the magic really comes in. This is where your own personal face-based Easter eggs come in, because with collabs like Disney Princesses, Mickey and Friends, Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter, and so much more, you can add flair to your daily look with their signature snap. Like, it's so satisfying to slap these things on, and it's so easy to change them in case you want like multiples, which I do have. And just like that, your face has a whole new look and some fresh Easter eggs for folks to discover. Plus, you get free shipping on US orders, free returns and exchanges within 30 days, no questions asked. So spot the Easter eggs. Go to paireyewear.com and use code Griffin for 15% off your first pair, and support the show by mentioning that Through the Gryffindor sent you in your post-checkout survey. That's PAIReyewear.com, code Griffin. He says Harry is sort of figuring out that once before he had been in a situation like this with the diary, which was, of course, back in Chamber of Secrets, and that now, unless he was very much mistaken, he was inside of somebody else's memory once again.
Yes. So he at least solves the Pensive question rather quickly.
Pretty quickly, yeah.
That is exactly what it does.
Yeah. So he kind of figures out what it is. It's like, how likely was it that he's been in this situation before, you know?
Well, kind of likely when you consider the fact that Dumbledore's pretty good at, or not Dumbledore, Voldemort's good at Pensive magic.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Apparently.
Apparently. And then there's an interesting line in here where it says he's like trying to figure it out or whatever, and he's trying to settle the matter, and he raised his right hand, hesitated, waved it in front of Dumbledore's face. It says Dumbledore did not blink or look around at Harry or indeed move at all, and that, in Harry's opinion, settled the matter. Dumbledore wouldn't ignore him like that, which is a really interesting sentence, because Dumbledore is going to ignore Harry just like that for pretty much all of the next book.
I know, yeah. That's the exact note I have written down is, well, not yet at least.
Not yet at least. In fact, it is going to be after, like, Dumbledore is going to show up at Harry's trial in this room, and that's about the last time he's going to pay attention to him in person.
Even then, he doesn't really pay attention to him.
Doesn't really, yeah.
That being said, I do think one of Daniel Radcliffe's best acting moments is when he's in Order of the Phoenix and he is yelling at Dumbledore and he's like, "Look at me!"
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Ooh, he's mad."
He's mad.
Yeah.
And he doesn't.
He is the chosen one.
Yeah. The chosen one.
So it couldn't be that long ago. Dumbledore sitting next to him now was silver haired, just like the present day Dumbledore. But what was this place? What were all of these wizards waiting for? Yeah, so when do you think this is?
Man, I've always assumed this is after the fall of Voldemort, and they're like rounding up the Death Eaters and stuff.
Right.
Because let's see. Like Karkaroff is going to name Snape, and Snape would have turned sides before. I think Dumbledore says something like that. Maybe that's the paragraph we need to read. Is that like Dumbledore or like Snape switched sides before Voldemort fell or something?
Okay.
So I've always assumed it was like shortly after the fall.
Right. Which, I mean, I guess all things being considered in the course of Dumbledore's life, who lives to be about 115 years old.
Yeah.
He would still be in excess of 100 years old at this point. So still looking the way that he looks in the present day is not that shocking.
No, not really that shocking.
Yeah. Let's see here. Harry's looking around. He realizes that it's more of a dungeon than a room. There was a bleak and foreboding air about the place. There were no pictures on the walls, no decorations at all. It's just these serried rows of benches rising and all levels around the room, all positions so that they had a clear view of that chair with the chains on its arms.
Scary place. And this is, of course, inside the Ministry of Magic.
Right, yes. Then the door in the corner of the dungeon opened and 3 people entered, or at least one man flanked by 2 Dementors.
Yes.
Harry's insides went cold.
Yeah.
And this is sort of like, it's interesting because like his insides go cold, which I think is maybe more Harry's response to Dementors,
right,
than it is an actual physiological response being caused by the Dementors to him.
Yeah, because it is going to go on to say on the next page that he knew the Dementors could not touch him inside a memory.
Right.
Yes. Although they do make you like relive your worst memories and you're inside a memory. So it's like, I don't know. Although, man, that makes it feel like, is there some sort of like distilling of a Dementor in the drink of despair or something that makes you...
Is the drink of despair Dementor soup?
Is it? Yeah, like are you you're basically like drinking the effects of a Dementor or something?
I mean, it's not terribly dissimilar when it really boils down to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like almost like if you took like a whole bunch of Dementors and made extract of Dementor.
That's what it feels like.
It does, I mean, it does feel that way. It does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We're figuring out one thing at a time.
We're piecing it together, you guys.
Yeah. Harry looked down now at the man sitting in the chair and saw that it was Karkaroff. Unlike Dumbledore, Karkaroff looked much younger. His hair and goatee were black. He was not dressed in sleek furs, but in thin and ragged robes.
Yes.
He was shaking.
Yeah. Then, even as Harry watched, the chains on the arms glowed suddenly gold, snaked their ways up Karkaroff's arms, binding him theirs. It says, like, I think the Dementors leave before that happens. Feels like they should stay until that happens.
It does seem that way. Yeah, you've got like a wanted criminal here.
Yeah.
This is another kind of crazy one from the films, is the way that they set up the space where like he is raised into the room, into this like cage where as soon as he like fills it, they like start to like tighten, like, you know, like almost like thumb screws.
It's like an iron gibbon. Is that what it is?
An iron gibbon?
Iron maiden?
Maybe it's an iron maiden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Right. You really can't move.
Yeah. You can't move. It's like when it shuts, spikes, whatever kind of. Yeah.
Gives me the claustrophobias.
Yibs. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you're right. It looks different in the movie. They don't have the chair there. Although Harry does sit in the chair during his own trial.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yes.
Yep.
Igor Karkaroff. It's Mr. Crouch standing up at the middle of the bench beside him. You have given us to understand that you have important information for us. And Karkaroff is basically, you know, he is basically naming names in exchange for
getting out of Azkaban.
Yeah.
Or hoping to at least get like a shortened sentence or whatever.
Yes.
But Harry could still hear the familiar unctuous note, and I just added in to make sure, and fruity.
And fruity.
Yes.
Those are the two descriptors that we get, is fruity and unctuous.
Yep.
I wish to be of use to the ministry. I wish to help. I know that the ministry is trying to round up the last of the Dark Lord supporters. I'm eager to assist in any way that I can.
See, that makes it sound like it's after he's fallen.
It does kind of make it that way. Yeah.
And of course he says, I'm eager to assist in any way I can. I just crossed that out and said, I'm eager to get out of Azkaban.
Yeah, in any way that I can.
Any way that I can. Yeah.
Right.
Which is absolutely what he's going on there. And that is exactly what Moody hears as well, because Harry's going to hear him speak up at this point and just go, filth.
Right.
So Moody is definitely on the, whatever. Get the names, send them back. Dude, I spent 6 months tracking that guy down.
Exactly. And I mean, you know, to be fair to Moody, I could see where this would be incredibly frustrating, where it's like, dude, do you know how much work I put into getting that guy?
I know.
And now you're talking about letting him just go?
Letting him go?
So that I can do more work?
I know, right? Then I go track someone else down?
It is.
Oh, he works here? Never mind. I'll be right back.
I'll be right back. Yeah, I'll just run up the hall.
Yeah.
Madame Moody was sitting there, except that there was a very noticeable difference in his appearance. He did not have his magical eye, but 2 normal ones.
Regular eye Moody.
Regular eye Moody. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
As they called him back in the day.
As they called him.
Right.
Yeah. This, of course, is a pretty key detail that we have used for a theory in the past, wherein we are like guessing that, in fact, it was Moody who was one of the Aurors who captured Bellatrix and Barty Crouch Jr. and the Lestranges.
Yes, because he will not be present for
their trial. Right.
Yes.
So sort of like if you're mathing it all together there, is that this is already after the fall of Voldemort. and Moody has both regular eyes. And he's going to be at the next trial with Ludo Bagman, both regular eyes.
Yeah.
And then he's not going to be at the Barty Crouch Jr. trial, which is going to be a lot more like lighthearted and jovial up front. No, that's the Ludo Bagman one.
Yeah.
Never mind. It is that he's not going to be there though, which is surprising because he's at the last two. And this is now like much further after Voldemort's fall, and they've just captured all these convicts, or not convicts, that'd be, these criminals. And like it is assumed that he's not there because he is recovering from the attack on them,
right?
And in which they got his eye.
They got his eye, which I mean, it almost does stand like a little bit to reason, because the other kind of vital bit here is that the wizarding world is in a relative calm, basically following the believed downfall of Voldemort after the events in Godric Hollow, and Moody still has both eyes, and we know that there's not like another noteworthy dark wizard that exists between now and the return of Voldemort. So it's like, otherwise it's like, who possibly could have harmed Moody so badly shy of Bellatrix
or Barty Crouch Jr.
And
it just feels so fitting if it was Barty Crouch Jr. who like managed to curse his actual eye away, because then he's the one who ends up wearing it.
And if you get the full story, there's a possibility he ended up turning that eye into a Horcrux.
Yes. See our published works.
Yeah, over on YouTube. Let's see here. So he did not have his magical eye. Crouch is going to let him out. He's done a deal with him. If he's got enough new names, let's hear his information, I say, and throw him right back to the Dementors.
Yeah.
It's like, whew, man, that's a tough stance.
That is. And what's interesting here is that this is the real Moody. This is basically the first time we are meeting actual Moody.
Yes, and sort of like the demeanor that he may have.
Yeah.
Which again is just sort of a testament to how good of a job Barty Crouch Jr. is at impersonating him.
Yeah, because now even we, the reader, don't miss a beat here.
Right. But I do like that we get this nod from Dumbledore. Basically, he lets a small noise of dissent through his long crooked nose, and then Moody says, I was forgetting, you don't like Dementors, do you, Albus? With a sardonic smile, it says, no, said Dumbledore calmly, which I don't know why he's shouting.
I know, we're like at a trial. It's like kind of rude.
Like, understand the etiquette.
Exactly.
I'm afraid I don't. I have long felt the ministry is wrong to ally itself with such creatures.
Yep, and he's going to repeat this again later to Fudge himself. After Harry tells him that he's come back, and Dumbledore's gonna be like, all right, Cornelius, listen up, playtime's over, you need to get rid of the Dementors, like, post haste.
Yes.
And he's gonna be like, how dare you, Dumbledore? I would never.
Dumbledore's like, you realize I could take your job tomorrow.
I can do it. I can do it. I might have to.
I might have to. Yep. Let's see here. So then Crouch is asking for the names. Then we get kind of another piece of Voldemort's sort of like clever play as a Dark Lord. He says, you must understand that he who must not be named operated always in the greatest secrecy. He preferred that to say that his supporters, and I regret now very deeply that I ever counted myself among them. Get on with it, Sneer Moody, which I kind of agree.
Yeah.
We never knew the names of every one of our fellows. He alone knew exactly who we all were. And this honestly is like a fascinating setup if we were to ever get a deeper glimpse into the operation of Voldemort's camp, because this could mean that like Voldemort could have, his own Death Eaters tailing his other Death Eaters, who his other Death Eaters don't know are Death Eaters.
It is possible, but what's interesting about this information too is that he basically abandons this practice altogether. I mean, even in just like the next couple of chapters, he's going to be extremely open about who all the Death Eaters in the circle are to everyone there.
That's a good point. Yes, he basically will just go through and name names, and it's like Voldemort, man, you just went half your secrecy.
I know, like all the secrecy is gone, and then like at the beginning of Deathly Hallows, like you get that chapter where they're all just sitting around the table at Malfoy Manor, like waiting for people to basically call attendance.
It's true.
Right.
Well, it's like we've always said, never have Voldemort plan your wedding, because he's not very good at big plans.
Not a good planning.
Yeah.
But what's interesting too here is that this is the real Moody actually agreeing with Voldemort's like tactics. Because he says, which was a wise move, wasn't it? As it prevented someone like you, Karkaroff, from turning all of them in.
Exactly. Yeah. So Moody completely understands how this would be like a powerful defense. So then Karkaroff is saying, like, yes, I do. And these were important supporters, mark you. People I saw with my own eyes doing his bidding. I give this information as a sign that I fully and totally renounce him and am filled with a remorse so deeply I can barely. And then Mr. Crouch is just basically like, these names all.
Yes.
Karkaroff drew a deep breath. And it's like, like that deep breath is kind of interesting too, because like Karkaroff knows, and basically what he's doing is signing his own death sentence right here, because they're going to hunt him down for doing this.
Oh, the Death Eaters?
The Death Eaters, yeah. So like this deep breath, like he is fighting with a rock in a hard place. He either has to live in Azkaban and hope that one day he gets sprung and gets to go back and fight underneath Voldemort, like what an honor. Or alternatively, find a way out knowing that he's making very dangerous enemies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is him also just believing that Voldemort is really and truly defeated.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
So his first name is Antonin Dolohov. Which also what's happening here as he names names is that the army of Death Eaters is being built for you, the reader, as well, because a lot of these names you're just going to be hearing for the first time. Yeah,
that's exactly right. But definitely not for the last time, though. Dolohov ends up going to be like a definitely recurring one. We have already apprehended Dolohov, said Crouch. He was caught shortly after yourself. Indeed, said Karkaroff. I am delighted to hear it. And it's like the smarm that Karkaroff even has in this situation where it's like, I don't believe that you're delighted to hear it. Like yeah. And I mean, it's exactly what Harry says next, but he didn't look it. This news had come as a real blow to him. And so, I mean, to me, that feels like Karkaroff was trying to name as few names as he could.
Right.
You know, it's like he was almost hoping like, well, I'll just say one right away. And if that's enough, then like, obviously I'm not going to name everybody else.
Well, he's very cunning in that way.
Exactly.
And so even this though, what's also interesting here is that he says, there's Antonin Dolohov. I saw him torture countless muggles and non-supporters of the Dark Lord. And Moody says, and helped him do it. And it's like, Moody might just be saying that because like, you know, oh yeah, if you saw him but didn't help. But like, maybe he's just like, you know, accusing him because he doesn't like him, or he's like filling in a gap, like, yeah, and you did it too.
Yes.
Like, you know, you failed to mention that part. But if that's true, man, it makes Karkaroff like quite the bad guy.
And I think that that's exactly what's happening though, because what is the other situation that we have going on here where like he would personally be witnessing this torturing and not be involved with it.
Right.
You know, it's like he's either not like he's either the guy who guards the door and he's just sort of like a lackey.
Right.
But still he is like aiding in this process. He's directly contributing to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So his next name is Rosier, Evan Rosier, which just fun fact, we get to meet Rosier's ancestor in Fantastic Beasts.
Yes.
Poppy Poppington or whatever, whatever her name is.
As one of Grindelwald's key henchwomen and one of just the most beautiful people.
She
is quite stunning. like a truly singular human being.
I know.
Yes. I remember me and you were just like, who are you?
Who are you?
Right. Yeah. Do more things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's see here. Rosier is dead. He was caught shortly after yourself. He preferred to fight rather than come quietly and was killed in the struggle. And then this is where we learned that that Rosier is the one who took a chunk of Moody's nose in that battle, because he says, took a bit of me with him though, whispered Moody. To Harry's right.
Then Karkaroff he's a very good talker, you know, he's like recovering each time. Just no more than Rosier deserved.
Right. Yes.
Is it any more? Said Crouch. Yes, that was Travers helped murder the McKinnons. And Mulciber specialized in the Imperious Curse. And what I think is interesting here is that like he's gonna like specialize in the Imperious Curse. Like there is like certain Death Eaters do have like their specialities. It's like they were really good at certain things.
Yeah, and I think actually when we go back to that conversation that we had long ago about Snape helping create the drink of despair, you know, in the cave.
Yeah.
I think that would be sort of the sentiment there. So it's like if you have each of the Death Eaters who are specializing in specific abilities, and in Mulciber does the Imperious Curse, it's like, what would Snape's contribution be if not potions?
If not potions, yeah.
Because that would seem like the obvious thing. So so Mulciber names, then he says, Rookwood, who is a spy who passed information to he who must not be named, useful information from inside the ministry itself. And then this time he realizes that Karkaroff has struck gold. Rookwood, said Mr. Crouch, nodding to a witch sitting in front of him. Augustus Rookwood from the Department of Mysteries. The very same, said Karkaroff eagerly.
And this is good setup for the next book as well, where this is the first time you learn about the Department of Mysteries.
Yes, indeed. And is it not the case that Harry will impersonate Augustus Rookwood in
Runcorn?
Albert
Runcorn,
you're correct.
Yes. Rookwood is going to be used again, though, I think he says something about, I think he like tells Voldemort that like he gives him information about how to grab the prophecy or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Let's see here. Yeah. So then Karkaroff is glad that he got somebody, and then Crouch clarifies, but Travers Mulciber we have. Very well, Karkaroff. If that's all, you'll be returned to Azkaban while we decide. Not yet, Karkaroff, looking quite desperate. Wait, I have more. Then he shouts out, Snape, Severus Snape. So again, this is where you kind of almost have to wonder whether or not he's going up some kind of a ladder, hoping to start with like lower rung individuals, hoping that they would not be as much of a threat to him, and then taking his way up higher and higher and higher.
Do you think so? It almost is going the other way, it feels like. Like Dolohov is like pretty bad.
Well, we know that Dolohov will go on to be pretty bad. I mean, which is a fair point. But I don't know. I mean, it's that would be like my interpretation, because I think that would suggest that like Snape had ranked pretty highly.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. And this is, of course, a huge bomb if you're the reader that he is name dropping Snape right here.
Yes. Yeah. Because we have now spent, and really will continue to do so much of the series just under this like absolute belief where it's just sort of like, why is everybody giving Snape this pass? Like, why does everybody trust him? Why does Dumbledore trust him?
I mean, Harry's going to ask him that before the end of the chapter, and he's just going to be like, well, I'm not telling you that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so he doubles down on it, but Dumbledore then stands up and says, I have already given evidence on this matter, he said calmly, again, screaming to the room. I don't know why. Severus Snape was indeed a Death Eater. However, he rejoined our side before Lord Voldemort's downfall. There you go. You're correct. And turned spy for us at great personal risk. He is now no more Death Eater than I am. Yeah. So it's like the extent to which Snape's ironclad reasoning has absolutely solidified immediately inside of Dumbledore.
Yeah.
He just believes it through and through.
Yep.
And maybe if you're Dumbledore, that's the kind of thing where it's like, look, if I'm going to believe in something, I have to believe in it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to believe in the best in everybody. And it's like, if that proves me wrong, then at least I did my best.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that that's all Dumbledore can do.
Meanwhile, you've got Moody sitting to his left, who is wearing a look of deep skepticism behind Dumbledore's back. So his view of things is much different. He's very much like, once bad, always bad.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
And that's real Moody, again, mind you. He is not like a one to forgive very much.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. So anyway, that's going to end up giving us the end of the Karkaroff portion of the trials, where he is then sent back to Azkaban in the meantime. And we know that he will eventually be freed, because obviously he is.
Yeah, not only freed, but made headmaster of Durmstrang.
It's kind of a strange one. Kind of a strange choice.
Makes his way, good.
Right.
So that fruity, unctuous tone will take you a long way.
That's right. That's right. And he's a sweet talker.
He's good at talking, Yeah.
Right. Yep. So then the dungeon returns. So this is not happening like Harry's not like dunking his head back in. It almost seems like the space is sort of like swirling around him and then just sort of like reforming back again. Let's see. The atmosphere seemed quite different, relaxed, even cheerful. The witches and wizards all around the walls were talking to one another, almost as though they were at some sort of sporting event. Yeah. Harry noticed a witch halfway up the rows opposite. She had short blonde hair, was wearing magenta robes, and was sucking the end of an acid green quill. It was unmistakably a younger Rita Skeeter.
Yes, which was also set up earlier, because earlier in the book, Rita Skeeter told Hermione that, like, I know things about Ludo Bagman that would make your hair curl, not that it needs it. Or whatever.
Right.
So this is what she's talking about. It's this particular trial. Also, I love the phrasing of almost as if they are at some sort of sporting event, which is just very carefully phrased, isn't it?
Yes, indeed, because he is an active Quidditch player at this time. But Mr. Crouch, however, looked more tired and somehow fiercer, gaunter.
Gaunter.
Yeah, circled that one.
You circled that one too?
Yeah, sure.
All right, yeah. Pure bloods, pure bloods.
That's it. Harry understood. It was a different memory, a different day, a different trial. The door opened and Ludo Bagman walked into the room.
Because you know why it matters if the Crouches are related to the Gaunts, Benjamin?
Why is that?
Because then it would mean that one Bartemius Crouch Jr. is also an heir of Slytherin. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Exactly.
So would it just end up being the case that well, I guess Barty Crouch Jr. is younger than Voldemort.
Yep.
But I was going to say like Voldemort over there being like, I'm discovering all these things that nobody else discovered. And it's like, you have not discovered anything that nobody else has discovered.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, discovered.
In your face.
Because we just made that whole thing about like, what if Barty Crouch Jr. is being set up to be the next Dark Lord?
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's
yes.
just like, look, there it is again.
Once again.
There it is again. Yeah. Not only is he just like the next Dark Lord, he also has Slytherin ties.
Right. You're right.
There's very little to go on other than these next couple of descriptions about Barty Crouch.
Right.
Well, I mean, they're both purebloods, you know.
Yeah, they're both on the Sacred 28.
Sacred 28, yeah. On the Sacred 28, and that means they were likely to have interbred with one another.
Yeah.
And, maybe they lost the name, you know. Female Gaunt member married the Crouch family, and they just went from there.
Exactly.
As far as we know. Who knows?
Right. So Ludo Bagman walked into the room, but at this point, I'm like, they really invited some interesting guests to the Triwizard Tournament. Like, they've got Karkaroff, who was on trial for supporting Voldemort. Ludo Bagman, who was on trial for supporting Voldemort. Like, Crouch Sr., who ran the trials about Voldemort. Like, it's just, and I mean, even then, Madame Maxine, who Cornelius Fudge was just openly suspicious of, like, everyone involved is sort of like, you got a history.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, I can't believe all these people are now working together to put on a high school sporting event.
Exactly. Yes. It's a strange collection of people.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ludo Bagman enters, but this was not a Ludo Bagman gone to seed, but a Ludo Bagman who was clearly at the height of his Quidditch playing fitness.
Yes, his nose wasn't broken. He was tall, lean, muscular.
Yeah.
But he did look nervous as he sat down in the chain chair, but it did not bind him as though it had bound Karkaroff.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. Yeah. Like, is this something where, like, the overall threat has lessened? Is it that people just don't believe that Ludo Bagman is going to be dangerous?
I think, well, he's also not actually been imprisoned yet. He's really just like under suspicion so far.
Right.
So maybe like, Karkaroff is already in Azkaban. So, Bagman wasn't even brought in by like Dementors,
Right. He's just brought in for questioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he waves around the room at a couple of people. He's managing a small smile. And then we get the introduction here. So Ludo Bagman, you have been brought here in front of the Council of Magical Law to answer questions related to the activities of the Death Eaters. Said Mr. Crouch. We have heard the evidence against you and are about to reach our verdict. Do you have anything to add to your testimony before we pronounce judgment? And Harry couldn't believe his ears. Ludo Bagman, a Death Eater?
Yeah, it's not what it said, though. I mean, that's what Harry said. Harry couldn't believe his ears. Ludo Bagman, a Death Eater, ? And it says, but that's not really what Mr. Crouch said. He says, answer to charges relating to the activities of the Death Eaters.
That's a fair point.
Right?
That's a fair point. Yes.
Yeah.
So Harry is jumping to a conclusion.
Yes.
Yes. I thought you were suggesting I read the words wrong.
Nope. You read the words correct. Harry is like jumping to a conclusion that is not there.
Yes. And this is where you kind of get the idea that Bagman's always maybe been a little bit daft.
Yeah.
Only, said Bagman, smiling awkwardly. Well, I know I've been a bit of an idiot.
Yeah.
One of the two wizards and witches in the surrounding seats smiled indulgently. Mr. Crouch did not appear to share their feelings. He was staring down at Ludo Bagman with an expression of utmost severity and dislike.
Yeah. Hopefully we won't have to work together someday.
Right. Yes. Right. So, yeah, exactly. Hopefully you guys aren't coworkers. So then this is where we get the interjection from Moody, who says, you never spoke a truer word, boy. And once again, Moody is sitting right next to Dumbledore.
Yep.
If I didn't know he'd always been dim, I'd have said some of those bludgers had permanently affected his brain.
Yeah, possible.
Yep.
Then you get his full name, Ludovic Bagman. You are caught passing information to Lord Voldemort's supporters. Love the name Ludovic.
I know, that's very solid. Yeah. For this, I suggest a term of imprisonment in Azkaban lasting no less than...
So Crouch is like just ready to send him. He is clearly like, I do not care. You are done.
Yes. And I mean... Crouch, it's interesting that he is reaching this stage of intensity when the rest of the room around him seems to have like mellowed a little bit, because what we know chronologically is that his son has not been brought up on charges yet.
No, not yet.
And it seems like he's already kind of unhinged.
Well, I think that's just how he was. That's like why, I think part of why his son becomes unhinged, because he's not paying any attention to like his home life at all.
Right. Like it's like Voldemort's like gone down and he is still just like scraping the bottom of the barrel for anything he can find.
Well, at this point, he's like on track to be minister.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. Gotta finish strong, I suppose.
I guess so. But yeah, so then Bagman chimes in, but I've told you, I had no idea. None at all. Old Rookwood was a friend of my dad's. It never crossed my mind he was in with you-know-who. I thought I was collecting information for our side.
This is, so a couple of things here. One, so the fact that Bagman is under trial at all is a direct result of Karkaroff naming Rookwood in the last trial. Because now what's happened is they've captured Rookwood, questioned him, and found out the people in his little web.
Right. So when you really like apply like a little bit of a critical lens to it, you can start to see where it's like, where like Ludo maybe is being brought up on charges in a way that's like, is this like, could he have known? You didn't know.
Well, that's what I think is interesting too. It speaks to like the kind of dangerous work that Rookwood is doing, because like his spies don't even realize they're spying, some of them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Like, but he says, I thought I was collecting information for our side, which means that Bagman thought like Rookwood was telling him to go get information and was like lying to him about what it was for.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I mean, especially because Ludo says for our side, which suggests that he had a side.
Right. I know. He's like, obviously I'm on our side, you guys' side, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. But then he goes on to say that Rookwood kept talking about getting me a job at the ministry later on once my Quidditch days are over. I can't keep getting hit by bludgers for the rest of my life, can I? And it's kind of ironic because that is what will end up happening. Like he will end up getting a job at the ministry.
He does end up getting a job at the ministry. And I'm also like, what do you mean get hit by the bludgers? It's your job to hit them, dude. I thought you were like really good at this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Come on.
We're readers. It's an occupational hazard.
An occupational hazard. There were titters from the crowd. It will be put to the vote, said Mr. Crouch.
Yeah, coldly. He turned to the right side of the dungeon. The jury will please raise their hands. Those in favor of imprisonment. Harry looked towards the right side of the dungeon. Not one person raised their hand. Many of the witches and wizards around the walls began to clap. One of the witches on the jury stood up.
Crouch is just losing it.
He is like, why is this not going how I want it to go? Yes, barked Crouch. We'd just like to congratulate Mr. Bagman on his splendid performance for England in the Quidditch match against Turkey last Sunday, the witch said breathlessly. Mr. Crouch looked furious. I wrote, LOL, I bet.
I know. Like, I was seconds away from sending this guy to Azkaban, and you're congratulating him?
Yes.
You're wearing his magic dice!
That's such a perfect time for that line. Despicable, Mr. Crouch spat at Dumbledore sitting down at...
Spat at Dumbledore?
Oh, wait, did I miss a line?
No,
here?
yeah, no, that is. That's despicable. Mr. Crouch spat at Dumbledore sitting down as Bagman walked out of the dungeon. Why is he talking at Dumbledore?
I have no idea. Yeah. Rook would get him a job indeed. The day Ludo Bagman joins us will be a sad day indeed for the ministry.
Yeah, bad news.
Yeah, it happens.
It does happen.
Right.
And he becomes head of department.
Right. Yes. He's promoted.
Yeah.
Oh, and you guys will work together. It's going to be great.
As colleagues, as complete equals, apparently.
Right. Yep. Okay, so now the dungeon dissolved again, and he and Dumbledore were sitting beside Mr. Crouch, but the atmosphere could not have been more different. There was total silence, broken only by the dry sobs of a frail, wispy-looking witch in the seat next to Mr. Crouch. Mm-hmm. She was clutching a handkerchief to her mouth with trembling hands.
Harry looked up at Crouch and saw that he looked gaunter and grayer than ever before. A nerve was switching in his temple.
Bring them in, he said.
Yep. And this time we have 6 Dementors. So not quite the same. I guess we had last time we had 2 for one person, and now we've got 6 for 4 people.
6 for 4,
so it doesn't seem like we've scaled appropriately.
No, not really.
Yeah, so it feels like we need 8 Dementors if I'm counting right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we got the 4 people walking into the dungeon. We kind of get like a description of each of those. We get a thick-set man who stared blankly up at Crouch, a thinner and more nervous-looking man whose eyes were darting around the crowd, woman with thick, shining dark hair and heavily hooded eyes, who was sitting in the chain chair as though it were a throne. Yep. This is, of course, Bellatrix.
Whose name we will not get.
Which is very interesting.
I know, yeah.
And a boy in his late teens who looked nothing short of petrified.
Right, and that's, of course, our big bad villain of the book, Barty Crouch Jr. Well, Baltimore, but Barty Crouch Jr.
Barty Crouch Jr., yeah. So here's the big question to me. Like, I mean, because it all comes down, and obviously we've seen Barty Crouch Jr. be a phenomenal actor for an entire year impersonating Mad-Eye Moody. So, like, we have to keep that in the back of our mind, but everything about how this exchange goes, like even the fact that just like Harry as like an impartial party, not knowing who this boy is, perceives him as scared.
Yeah.
And he's younger. How old does it say he is? In his late teens. So, we're talking about like an 18, 19-year-old, just like fresh out of Hogwarts. It's like the big question in the back of my mind when it comes to Barty Crouch Jr. and being roped into this particular situation, and everything that he does is whether or not what his role was per the rest of these Death Eaters was to basically discredit the main person who was taking down Voldemort's regime, which would be Crouch Sr. So the inclusion of Crouch Jr., despite all of the bad parenting and everything that goes on, it's like, this is going to make him look bad. The fact that Barty Crouch Jr. is involved with this is the reason that he gets sidelined for all of his promotions. It's an effective ploy if that's what it is.
Well, it's whether or not, the question is whether the Death Eaters recruited him to do that or whether he wanted to do this on purpose.
Well, and sometimes when you feel powerless over somebody who has power over you, i.e. in this case, a parent, maybe the thing you can do is hope to discredit them by doing something that makes them look bad.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, it's whether or not it's acting or whether or not it's a setup. And that's the thing that I think remains a little bit unclear.
Yeah.
Because he's going to spend the whole time basically just trying to get his father to show him mercy.
Yeah, I'm in camp that he's acting the whole time.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he looked down at the four in front of him. There was pure hatred on his face. It says, "You have been brought here before the Council of Magical Law," he said clearly, "so that we may pass judgment on you for a crime so heinous." And then, "Father," said the boy in the straw-colored hair, "Father, please."
Yes. "That we have rarely heard the like of was in this court." Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Crime so heinous indeed. Yeah, because of course the crimes are going to be torturing the Longbottoms into insanity.
Yes. Yep.
The four of you stand accused of capturing an Auror, Frank Longbottom, and subjecting him to the Cruciatus Curse, believing him to have knowledge of the present whereabouts of your exiled master, he who must not be named.
And I think it's very interesting that we have Frank Longbottom, of all people, being the person, because this is really good setup for the truth that is Neville could have been the other subject of the prophecy.
Right.
So for them to go after the Longbottoms, especially if the Longbottoms came out of hiding following the attack in Godric's Hollow, it would basically mean that a select group, potentially only Bellatrix, like a very high-ranking lieutenant or whatever, would be granted the information, and therefore, what did you do to him? Because Voldemort's gone. The reason they're attacking him is because they assume, the Death Eaters who remain assume that the high-ranking people like the Longbottoms might know where he was taken.
Right.
Of course, nobody knows what happened. It's all a mystery.
It's all a mystery. Absolutely.
Yeah. So even if Frank wanted to give information, he couldn't because there is no information to give.
Yeah. I also find this I don't know if this is just not fully developed characters yet, or Mr. Crouch just being a little bit sexist or not.
Would not surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me, but he says, "Of capturing an Auror, Frank Longbottom, and subjecting him to the Cruciatus Curse," and then he will go on to say, "You are further accused of using the Cruciatus Curse on Frank Longbottom's wife, who he does not name by name or as an Auror, even though she was."
She was, yes, yes. Frank and Alice Longbottom.
Both Aurors.
Both Aurors.
Yes.
Yes. So you're right. Yeah. It's like in his high and mighty looking down upon these criminals, is he just blatantly being sexist at the same time?
I know.
And given the character, I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah. Yes, because Alice Longbottom is also an Auror. When he would not give you information. So basically, I guess what he's saying is they started with Frank and then moved on to Alice. You plan to restore he who must not be named to power, and to resume your lives of violence you presumably led while he was strong. I now ask the jury. So he basically is he's brought them in, and this is sort of even what Sirius was telling us in the cave. He basically, the most he was willing to give the boy was a trial, something he didn't even give Sirius. And it's not much of a trial. He's basically brought them in and he's throwing it to the jury.
Yeah.
Right away. They haven't presented any information.
No, there's no information. He's just saying, you were accused of doing this.
Jury?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mother! Screamed the boy.
I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Yes.
But see, because the other thing we think is that like if he is in fact the one who attacked Moody, then he was like already, a pretty active person. Right? Like if he's the one who got his eye in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that adds more to the overall lore of Barty Crouch Jr., who you and I both have long firmly believed was just an underutilized, very powerful character. And we did just make a video here on Super Carlin Brothers channel that delves really heavily into the idea that Barty Crouch Jr. may have very specifically been set up and even had the breadcrumbs laid out to be a future villain in a Harry Potter like sequel series.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, then I would fully change my tone entirely and be like, yeah, he's just acting here.
Right. Yeah.
And he's just trying to get himself out. He's just trying to basically play to the only person in the room who will grant him sympathy, which is his mother, which would be cunning because he'd be using her kindness to try to grant himself freedom so that he could continue to live a life of violence.
Right, because all he's going to do is keep looking for Voldemort.
Yes, and that is exactly what he does.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense that he's just acting.
Right. But in any case, he says now he now asks the jury to raise their hands if they believe, as I do, throws that in there.
Yeah, it's like I think that's a leading something. I don't know.
A little bit.
I don't know.
Also, this is the sort of thing too, where like in real life, if the accused is your direct son or daughter, there's no way you're allowed to be the judge.
Yeah, you have to recuse yourself.
Conflict of interests.
It absolutely is. And it would also be a mistrial for the judge to express their sentiment, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So it just points to like the absolute sort of like, I don't know if corruption's the right word, but the corruption of like the court system, of the judicial system within the wizarding world.
It's a little broken.
It's not, they don't have all their checks and balances in order. That's for sure.
No, not so much. Let's see here. In unison, the witches and wizards along the right-hand side of the dungeon raised their hands. The crowd along the walls began to clap as it had for Bagman, their faces full of savage triumph. The boy began to scream, "No, mother! No, I didn't do it! I didn't know! Don't send me there! Don't let him!"
Yeah. Meanwhile, Bellatrix, not even fazed by it. She's just like, the Dark Lord will rise again, Crouch. Throw us into Azkaban. We will wait. He will rise and he will come for us. He will reward us beyond any of his other supporters. And she's quite right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and I think that Voldemort in this book will bring up this exact thing.
Yeah.
It's like
he's like, they did the right thing getting sent to Azkaban for me.
And waiting. Yep. So then basically the Dementors come in and start to like sweep them off their feet and out of the dungeon. Crouch Jr. just continues to scream.
Yeah.
Like, I'm your son. And then you get the terrible moment from Crouch Sr. saying, "You are no son of mine. I have no son.
I have no son."
Just terrible.
Basically what apparently Harry tells his own son in Cursed Child.
That's why we don't count it.
Well, I don't, it's like, no. Harry witnesses this.
Right, yeah, exactly.
He saw this.
Right. He fought to defeat the people who do this.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. But anyway, then finally, at long last, we hear from Dumbledore in the present, who says, "I think, Harry, it is time to return to my office," said a quiet voice in Harry's ear. Harry started. He looked around, then looked on his other side. There was an Albus Dumbledore sitting on his right, watching Crouch's son be dragged away by the Dementors, and there was an Albus Dumbledore on his left, looking right at him.
Yeah.
That would be a jump scare.
Professor, I know I should hide. I didn't mean I the cabinet door sort of open and like, I quite understand.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like one of those things where it's like, I appreciate Dumbledore's respect for curiosity.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, like I'm fairly certain that Dumbledore just left the latch open or did this as he was exiting the room so that Harry would find it. Or even knowing that there is an allure to the Pensive, that like if all Harry had to do was just witness it, it would draw him in. It's like, this is a way to like feed him information without directly like giving it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Pensive's such a very cool plot device to deliver exposition.
It's exactly right. Yeah. Exposition can always be kind of like an eye roll because you're sort of like it's just telling you, the listener, the viewer, the reader, whatever, what you need to know. But it's like, it doesn't always make sense for the characters to say these things because it's sort of like, It's like Hagrid asking like, what platform is it again? It's like platform 9 3/4. It's like Hagrid, it's always platform 9 3/4. Or Molly asking, yes, I'm sorry. It's like we know it's platform 9 3/4. It's always platform.
You've been here 17 times before, woman.
All right. Yeah. You would not ask that question.
Yeah.
However, we need somebody to ask that question so that Harry knows he can go and ask her for help, which he does.
Yes.
Anyway.
So then Harry starts asking about the Pensive, and Dumbledore starts explaining, says, I sometimes find, as I'm sure you know the feeling, that I simply have too many thoughts and memories crammed into my mind. And then Harry, of course, responds, He said he couldn't truthfully say he never felt that way. I'm like, I don't believe you.
I know. Yeah. This is maybe it's Harry's like little imposter syndrome coming in. It's like you've had a lot on your mind before, pal.
A lot on your mind before. You know? In the next book, there will be a moment where he has so much on his mind where he's like, and now he knew what Dumbledore meant.
Right. Yes, it will come back. Come back. At these times, said Dumbledore, indicating to the stone basin, I use the Pensive. One simply siphons the excess thoughts from one's mind, pours them into the basin, and examines them at leisure. It becomes easier to spot patterns and links, you understand, when they are in this form.
Harry's like, that's your thoughts?
Weird. Can't touch it again.
Gross.
This is a curious one for me because I feel like a lot of times I have vivid memories, but like they're not always as like visual. Like I don't know how good my Pensive memories would be.
Yeah.
Or there's also that question of like accuracy. Like Dumbledore, we can fairly safely assume has some version of like a photographic or eidetic memory where he could just take all the information in a room and like perfectly place it, in this kind of like storyboard format. But like, I don't know. Do you think your memories would look like that? Like,
I don't know. It is so hard to know. Like, I mean, I guess I feel like a lot of my memories are visual, but like, it's interesting what Dumbledore takes in because like, if we go back a couple pages, it says, when Dumbledore stands up to defend Snape, it says he is now no more Death Eater than I am. And then as Harry turned to look at Mad-Eye Moody, he was wearing a look of deep skepticism behind Dumbledore's back. And it's like, how will Dumbledore know the face? Like, how does the memory record Moody's face if it's like behind Dumbledore's back?
Well,
or is Dumbledore just like, yeah, I know what you're doing back there.
Right. Well, I mean, we've said before, Dumbledore also similar to Moody has the piercing blue eyes. Like, it's possible. Not that I think his eyes were like rolling around in his head. He's standing there. He would look even quirkier than Dumbledore already does.
Dumbledore has fake glass eyes and then real Mad-Eye Moody eyes behind his eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. That way it looks like he's looking forward, but what he's really doing is just scanning everything.
He's just going kooky all the time.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yep. Let's see here.
Anyway, it's interesting that's how it works. Dumbledore, he's showing him how it works. As Dumbledore added this fresh thought to the basin, and Harry astonished how his own face swimming around the surface of the bowl, which to me I feel like it's a little bit rude. He's like, I don't want this thought in there. Get out of here. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. And this is sort of like an interesting usage of the Pensive as well, because as Dumbledore placed his long hands on either side and swirled it, rather as a gold prospector would pan for fragments of gold. Gold. Yes.
After he just put a memory of Harry in there.
Boom, bam. Look at that.
No accident.
Harry saw his own face change smoothly into Snape's, who opened his mouth and spoke to the ceiling, his voice echoing slightly. It's coming back, Karkaroff stew, stronger and clearer than ever. A connection I could have made without assistance, Dumbledore sighed, but never mind. And it's interesting, like, it almost makes me wonder whether or not the Pensive can do, like, work for you in a way. Like the way that he's, like, panning it around, it's like, is it almost like asking the Pensive to, like, bounce the memories from, like, place to place to place to see if, like, linkages occur?
I don't know. Or is he just sort of swirling it around like, oh, what else did I put in here?
Right. Like, it's just a good way to like turn everything over. Like, okay, there's Harry, there's Snape, there's Barty Jr. Like, what am I missing?
Right.
But this also means that Dumbledore is aware of the fact that Voldemort is rising to power, because basically what Snape has just said is that his dark mark is coming back stronger and clearer than ever. And Dumbledore is basically saying like a connection I could have made without assistance. So
it's also a good reminder that Snape is just telling Dumbledore like helpful information.
Also true.
Right.
Also true. Yes. He is in fact passing information to Dumbledore.
Yeah.
But then we get the explanation basically as to why Harry ended up finding it. He says, I was using the Pensive when Mr. Fudge arrived for our meeting and I put it away rather hastily. That's the moment that I feel like would be surprising given the way that Dumbledore normally allow somebody to enter his office by announcing enter.
Yeah.
Because surely he could have just taken his time and then announced it and, successfully put it away.
Right.
Then he says, undoubtedly, I did not fasten the cabinet door properly. Naturally, it would have attracted your attention. Oh, even that phrasing. Naturally, it would have attracted your attention.
Right.
Like
it would have.
Like
it would attract your attention.
Like
due to its magical properties.
Is it due to its natural magical properties?
Right. Yes. But like the sentence, undoubtedly, I did not fasten the cabinet door properly, like is such a Dumbledore what a mistake I didn't make.
Yeah. Oh, shucks.
Well, it just feels so on purpose. But it's like, how could it be on purpose if he doesn't know that Harry's coming? Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like he's just it doesn't matter because I think he just unlatches it when he leaves the room.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, if you want another great candidate for what I think would be an amazing Harry Potter tattoo, it's going to be this next line. Because Harry says, "I'm sorry," and then Dumbledore shook his head. Curiosity is not a sin.
Curiosity is not a sin.
I love that sentiment.
Yeah.
I literally wrote it on the bottom of the page because I was like, oh, that is it's so good. Because I think at times in my life, I feel like I've been curious to a fault. And there are times where I think I will ask what others may perceive as inappropriate questions because of curiosity. And it's like I'm trying to learn. And therefore I'm asking these questions. And I think there's something that is assuring to me about the idea that it's you're not attempting to wheedle information. You're not trying to gain information for personal gain. You're not trying to prove a point. You're trying to understand. And if you're trying to understand, then what you are doing is not a sin. It is not a negative thing. And it's I think that's just a reminder that I could use myself regularly.
Right. It's just so often I feel like if I don't understand something, I just won't ask because I don't want to reveal that I don't know it already.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I think that can be a huge thing. It's you don't want to be perceived as being uninformed in some capacity. So it's worse to not ask the question. But it's sometimes you just have to ask questions, and it's sometimes it's about uncomfortable things. But it's if you're asking questions, then it means you're seeking a better understanding, and if you get a better understanding, then you are a better force in the world.
Yeah. And then the real proof, I think, that Dumbledore intends Harry to see it is what happens next, where, frowning slightly, he prodded his thoughts within the basin with the tip of his wand. Instantly, a figure rose out of it, a plump, scowling girl of about 16 who began to revolve slowly with her feet still in the basin. This is Bertha Jorkins, which Dumbledore just summons apropos of nothing for Harry to witness.
Yes. Yes. This would be further proof. If he just showed, Harry just examined 3 trials, and then Dumbledore returns and is showing him other highly pertinent information.
Yes, he shows him the information about the Dark Mark. He shows him Bertha Jorkins.
Right.
It's that is all I don't know if you should be showing Harry that stuff unless you mean for him to see it. Which makes it feel like you meant for him to see the other stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you kind of get a feeling of where Sirius was coming from, where he's I knew Bertha Jorkins. She was an idiot.
Right.
Because the memory that Dumbledore has pulled to the surface is, he put a hex on me, Professor Dumbledore, and I was only teasing him, sir. I said I'd only seen him kissing Florence behind the greenhouses last Thursday. But why, Bertha? Said Dumbledore sadly, looking up at the now silently revolving girl. Why did you have to follow him in the first place?
I know. So it's and when he says that, it's I think the way you the reader are is that you think that
Dumbledore back then said it.
Dumbledore, no. That because I think he says. But why? Dumbledore just had to looking up at the now silently revolving girl. No, it's definitely present day Dumbledore saying it. It sounds like he's saying, why did you have to follow him in the first place? About following the boy who hexed her. Because she followed him and saw him kissing Florence behind the greenhouses.
Right.
But I think what Dumbledore's actually talking about is Peter.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. He's clearly trying to understand something about Bertha Jorkins.
Yeah.
And what her character instills and the ways in which she acted when she was younger, which must be the only reference points he can go back to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a very good question. It's sort of and I think that what that suggests from Dumbledore is Bertha, why did you go? it's like, I know that you're this kind of person. And unfortunately, that fits too well with you going to Albania and then following someone.
Right.
Which is exactly what happened. She followed Peter.
No, but I'm saying, do you think Dumbledore knows like that she ran into Peter Pettigrew here? Is that like what he's saying?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
The him there, I think, could be open to interpretation as Tom Riddle, Voldemort, or someone else, potentially Peter.
Right. But you don't think he's talking about the memory he just watched?
No, I don't think he's talking about the memory he just watched. Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's all I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that is where this can be read in a way that like my first pass, I could easily see a world where I would have just glazed over this line quickly and not realize that it was past Dumbledore talking to past Bertha asking that question.
No, it's not.
No, I know.
Okay,
I know it's not. Yeah. Sorry. What I was trying to say is that like I think that like on my first pass, that is what I would have believed was happening.
Oh, okay.
But instead, with further critical thinking or just paying more attention to the line in particular, it's much more like he's exasperated. Like in the present, he's like, but why did you have to follow him? Like,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why did you do that? That was so bad. It was such a mistake.
Right.
Oh, man. So, yeah, he says that was Bertha as I remember her at school. And then just buckle up, you guys, because just one of the literal funniest things that has ever been printed in Word is about to come up in just 3 sentences. It says, this is what it says. Are you ready? Try and contain your laughter. It says, he knew, of course, that Dumbledore was getting on in years. Oh, my gosh. Oh. Are you dying? Can you contain it?
Wow. Oh, I see.
It's like the funniest thing that's ever been said.
What is he, like 150 years old?
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Yeah. Can't get enough of that.
Can't get enough of that.
There are so many people. Oh, my gosh. That is so funny.
I hope somebody, whoever gets this page of mine, I just covered it in ha-has.
Yes. Okay. So in case you don't get the joke, there's a line in, is it Half-Blood Prince?
I think it's Half-Blood Prince.
I think it's Half-Blood Prince, where Harry, Ron, and Hermione are sitting in Ron's room. They're sitting around like the burning piece of like newspaper in front of them.
Yeah.
And they're like, how old is Dumbledore anyway? And then Ron's like, 150? Give or take. And they all just like burst out fake laughing. And it's like, that was so not funny.
It was so not funny.
But
it was like, is this the first joke you guys have ever heard? Or?
Yeah. So anyway,
anytime they mention Dumbledore's age, I just,
it's just
sometimes lose it. It's so funny.
What a gut buster.
Yeah.
I do love the exchange though that's coming next. Because then Dumbledore finally is sort of like, so Harry, before you got lost in my thoughts, you wanted to tell me something. It's like, this is like the first time in like 30 pages when we're reminded that Harry came here for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Harry's like, Professor, I was in divination just now and I fell asleep. He hesitated, wondering if he'd get a reprimand, but Dumbledore immediately said, quite understandable. Continue.
Yeah, I understand. Next.
Yeah, not hung up at all, which fits perfectly with how we know Dumbledore feels about the post of divination. Well, I had a dream. A dream about Lord Voldemort. He was torturing Wormtail. You know who Wormtail. Yeah, I do know. Please continue. Very
extremely interested. No sidetracks.
Right. Yeah, this is again one that I feel like it would be just so fun to like see this scene play out with like really solid dialogue.
Yeah,
because it's just sort of like, okay, Voldemort got a letter from an owl. He said something like Wormtail's blunder had been repaired. He said someone was dead. Then he said Wormtail wouldn't be fed to the snake. There was a snake beside his chair. He said he'd be feeding me to it instead. Then he did the Cruciatus curse on Wormtail, and my scar hurt. He said, it woke me up. It hurt so badly. Dumbledore merely looked at him. That's all, said Harry.
Dumbledore is having such a day with Harry. First, Harry just slams the minister, just, out of nowhere. Dumbledore's just like, well, what a treat that was. Thank you, Harry Potter, for showing up out of nowhere.
Quick little thumbs up for you.
Dunk. Now he's just sort of like, yeah, tell me about the dream. Imagine Dumbledore just staring at him like, excuse me, what now?
You let me take him out for a walk when this was here?
Like, what insane information Dumbledore's just getting for free.
Right, yes.
And then Dumbledore's response. He's able to keep his calm. Surprisingly,
Yes.
I see, said Dumbledore quietly.
I see. Inside, he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Now, has your scar hurt at any other time this year, except in the time it woke you up over the summer? No, How did you know it woke me up over the summer? Said Harry, astonished. You are not Sirius's only correspondent, said Dumbledore. I have also been in contact with him ever since he left Hogwarts last year.
And he tells me everything you say.
Right. He's like, all the responses he's not giving you, he's sending me detailed letters.
Detailed letters, yeah.
Yes. It was I who suggested the mountainside caves the safest place for him to stay, which does make it seem safer.
It does. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not just Sirius being reckless. Dumbledore was involved.
Dumbledore probably helped get Witherwings in there.
That's right. Yeah. Made the hole big enough or something.
Made the hole big enough. Yes. And Sirius is apparently still wandless.
That being said, not sending him food.
Not sending him food.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So Harry's sneaking it from the kitchens and sending it over there. Dumbledore, who has all the food in the world at his regular disposal, is letting him eat rats.
I know.
Maybe he just appreciates a good metaphor.
Yeah. Like, yes, eat the rats.
Eat the rats. They are the enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Dumbledore got up and began walking up and down behind his desk. I love that because it's like, is that Dumbledore in his office? Pacing. Does that a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. Every now and then he placed the wand tip to his temple, removed another shining silver thought, and added it to the pensive. The thoughts inside began to swirl so fast that Harry couldn't make out anything clearly. It was merely a blur of color. Professor, he said quietly after a couple minutes. Dumbledore stopped pacing and looked at Harry. My apologies, he said, and he sat back down at his desk. Do you know my scar's hurting me? $1 million question, Harry.
$1 million question. Very direct for once. The answer is that a piece of Voldemort's soul lives inside of you, Harry.
Yes.
Let's see what Dumbledore says.
I have a theory. No more than that. It is my belief that your scar hurts when Lord Voldemort is near you and when he's feeling particularly strong surge of hatred.
Yeah, I think you have more than that.
I think you
more
do.
than that.
But why? Because you and he are connected by the curse that failed, said Dumbledore. That is no ordinary scar.
Hold on, let me fix that sentence. Because you and he are connected by a Horcrux, said Dumbledore. That is no ordinary scar.
You remember that diary you brought me at the end of year 2?
Yeah.
That's what led me down this path. I plan to spend the summer looking for more.
Yes.
Not this summer, I guess, but next summer.
Yes.
Anyway, so you think that dream, did it really happen? It is possible, said Dumbledore. I would say probable.
Harry, did you see Voldemort? Yeah. Now this is interesting too because he is like the connection is like typically like he's not seeing through Voldemort's eyes. You know, he's just sort of seeing like third person from in the room.
From in the room, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, said Harry, just the back of his chair, but there wouldn't be anything to see, would there? I mean, he hasn't got a body, has he? But then how could he have held the wand? Said Harry slowly.
Indeed.
Yeah, and so which I just wrote, oh boy.
Yeah. Terrifying new questions, aren't they?
But this is also really good. This is holding your hand through the story, helping guide you to the questions you should be asking.
Right, it is because it's sort of like, yeah, you're right. And it's like, he doesn't have a body. And it's like, okay, good confirmation. He doesn't have a body, right? But that's exactly what's going to happen at the end of the book.
Yes.
Like, that's the problem he's solving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Then we get the question, do you think he's getting stronger? And then Dumbledore says, Voldemort? It was the characteristic Pierce.
Voldemort, question mark. What? No, Ron. Yes, Voldemort.
I swear I've been watching him in Charms class. He's getting better.
He's pretty good.
No, Ron. Yes, Voldemort. That's the funniest thing that happened all episode.
Except Dumbledore's age, of course.
Yeah. Good save. That was hilarious. Oh man. Let's see here. It was the characteristic piercing look Dumbledore had given him on other occasions, and as always made Harry feel as though Dumbledore were seeing right through him in a way that even Moody's magical eye could not.
More legilimens?
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
And this is where he's like, I can only give you my suspicions. The years of Voldemort's ascent to power, he said, were marked with disappearances. Bertha Jorkins has vanished without a trace, in the place where Voldemort was certainly known to be last. Mr. Crouch too has disappeared within these very grounds. And there was a third disappearance, one which the Ministry, I regret to say, does not consider of any importance, for it concerns a Muggle. His name was Frank Bryce.
You think there's been no other disappearances of any other people at all? You know? Like, how's he cherry picking which, I mean, obviously the magical ones seem relevant, but like no other muggles have gone missing at all in this entire year?
I mean, certainly they have. He seems to be like just zeroed in on
He
that.
does zero it. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was in like the Riddle house, so he maybe knows. It was like, well,
yeah, that's
pretty good. Yeah.
not a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name was Frank Bryce. You dreamed about him. Maybe you should have said that there.
Right. Yes. Do you remember that dream?
You remember that dream? That was him.
Right.
Yep.
Do you, the reader, remember that dream? Because it's
Exactly.
now been 602 pages.
Yeah. Voldemort's father grew up and he's not been seen since last August. You see, I read the Muggle newspapers, unlike most of my ministry friends. Also, I read Sirius's letters that were about this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So does Harry remember Frank Bryce dying?
I don't know. Maybe didn't know him by name, certainly.
Yeah, he certainly wouldn't know it by name.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if what does he say? What does he say?
Because we're sort of getting that whole chapter like from Frank's point of view right up until he dies. And then you're like, and then Harry wakes up at the same time. And it's like, how much of that did Harry see? Did he like see him wake up and try and refill his hot water bottle, you know?
Right. A weird thing happened to me this morning, though. My scar hurt again. Last time that happened, it was because Voldemort was at Hogwarts. But I don't reckon he can be anywhere near me now, can he? Do you know if cursed scars sometimes hurt years afterwards? I'll send this with Hedwig when she gets back. She's off hunting at the moment. Say hello to Buckbeak for me. So he doesn't seem to really go into explicit detail about what the dream was about.
No, I guess he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I guess there's that. Let's see. Then he continues to ask him a few more questions, asking all of the right questions, and Dumbledore just sort of, dodging and weaving as he does.
Right.
Says, the trial found me in, the one with Crouch's son. Well, we're talking about Neville's parents. And then Dumbledore, this is like Dumbledore, he gave Harry a very sharp look, and he's just sort of like, surely that was obvious.
Right.
Surely, Harry Potter, you have asked Neville about his parents, haven't you? What? No.
This is Harry shook his head, wondering as he did so how he could have failed to ask Neville this in almost 4 years of knowing him.
For real, Harry.
It's like, oh my God. I can't imagine something that wouldn't have come up in the first week of knowing Neville. Like, tell me about your life. It's like, well, I'm raised by my gran. Where are your parents?
Right. Yeah. They dead too. We have that in common. Oh, they're not. Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah. And then I think maybe to go back to our point from earlier, Dumbledore following up makes it seem like Alice just hadn't been invented as also an Auror yet, because he goes on to say, yes, they were talking about Neville's parents. His father Frank was an Auror just like Professor Moody. He and his wife were tortured for information about Voldemort's whereabouts after he lost his powers, as you heard.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we can still hold it against Crouch Sr. that he's probably sexist, because it just seems like that's probably true anyway.
Sort of feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're dead, said Harry quietly. No, said Dumbledore, his voice full of bitterness. They are insane. He's not sugarcoating it at all.
Nope.
They are both in St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries. I believe Neville visits them with his grandmother during the holidays. They do not recognize him.
Also, good setup for the hospital.
It is a good setup for the hospital. I have this tiny little piece of headcanon that if we ever got the backstory to Frank and Alice Longbottom, that when they were first courting one another while they were students at Hogwarts, that he would pass her notes on Drubel's blowing gum wrappers.
Don't say that.
So,
oh no.
So when she gives him the wrapper, it's actually like, and then Neville keeps it. It's like,
so terrible.
It's more special than you thought. Yeah.
Harry sat there horror struck. He had never known, never in 4 years bothered to find out. Ugh.
Yeah.
And
then
the Longbottoms were very popular.
Which even that is like, it demonstrates the damage, because like Neville is somebody who struggles with confidence. Like, he's Neville, for all intents and purposes, not to fault him in any way, but is not popular.
Right.
And so it's like to think that these were people who like had so much life to give to the world, and they had like no pun intended, like an aura around them, that like all of that was dismantled, and it shook down to now this like poor quiet kid who just didn't get to live the life that he should have been allowed to live.
I know.
It's so infuriating.
It is. And then Harry, of course, asks the question that really throws you off the scent even more than you already are, which is, then Mr. Crouch's son might not have been involved. So it's like even Harry like feels bad for Barty Crouch Jr. and like kind of is on the side of he was just definitely an innocent kid. You know, maybe it's possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Dumbledore was like, as to that, I have no idea, which is interesting because Dumbledore is so good at reading people all the time.
He is. I mean, and he's been able to zero in on exactly what's going on. And I think that the myth that Junior was killed, or not killed, but rather died during his time at Azkaban, he just believes that, you know, and like it's too convoluted to assume that anything else had happened otherwise.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, so Dumbledore just has no idea. Then he says, there were two more questions Harry wanted to ask, but they concern the guilt of living people. Mr. Bagman
has never been accused of any dark activity since, said Dumbledore calmly, to which I was just like, geez, chill, my guy.
Yeah.
This chapter's been full of it.
I know.
Yeah. Let's see here. Right, said hastily, staring at the contents of the Pensive again, where they were swirling now that Dumbledore had stopped adding thoughts. And
it's so often.
I feel like it's got to be annoying that we keep pointing it out, but it's hilarious that like it comes up.
It's a plot point.
It's a plot point in the next chapter.
I know.
Yeah.
The Pensive seem to be asking the question for him.
Right. Yeah. Snape's face was swimming on the surface again. Dumbledore glanced down, then up at Harry. No more has Professor Snape, he said. And then
that's not true. I accused him of lots of things.
Right. What made you think he'd really stop supporting Lord Voldemort? And it's like, this is the question.
This is it. Big one.
Right.
And you can tell Dumbledore is really considering it. Held Harry's gaze for a few seconds and then said, that Harry is a matter between Professor Snape and myself. To which I'm like, well, is it?
That's exactly what I wrote. It's like this I want to think is the moment where Dumbledore is trying to let Harry have a childhood.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to not burden him.
That's what he says.
With so much. Like that's the benefit of the doubt that I want to be able to give here. Like he's clearly okay with Harry knowing certain things, but not all of the most important things, of which this is one of the most important things. It is the plot.
Yeah.
Of the whole series. And it has very much to do with Harry. It very much is his business.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a strange one for Dumbledore to give that particular explanation.
Yeah, you can tell he thinks about it. He thinks about it again later on. He's like, he has thought about it. He like knows he eventually has to tell him.
He does, yes.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't, but.
Yeah, right. Harry knew that the interview was over. Dumbledore did not look angry, yet there was a finality in his tone that told Harry it was time to go. He stood up, and so did Dumbledore. Harry, he said as Harry reached the door, please do not speak about Neville's parents to anybody else. He has the right to let people know when he is ready. And this is just true about so many things. You know, it's like there's certain information that is not meant to be shared by anybody other than the person who wishes to share it.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's a good piece of advice, not just for Harry about Neville, but for all people in all things.
And Harry actually holds very true to this. He doesn't even tell Ron and Hermione about this.
Yes, which is a rare piece of information that he withholds from them.
Yes.
Or that even Dumbledore is unwilling for him to reveal, because Ron and Hermione are the two who are allowed to know about the Horcruxes, something that Harry won't even tell Lupin about.
Right.
You know, it's like he's not telling like his closest allies,
right,
other than Ron and Hermione. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then Harry looked back. Dumbledore was standing over the Pensive, his face lit by its silvery spots of light, looking older than ever.
Oh man.
Gets me every time.
Every time.
He stared at Harry for a moment, then said, good luck with the third task.
And then I finished that sentence. It says, good luck with the third task. Here's some spells I try to master. Also, spiders. See ya.
See ya. Oh, man. Okay, so
that brings us to the end of the chapter.
That brings us to the end of chapter 30. We're coming up here on the 2-hour mark. Jay, do you have a review for us?
Well, let me see here, Benjamin. I believe that I do. Let's see. Here is the review from Joe Cool 55.
Joe Cool.
Best podcast of all time. Hey, brother, love your podcast. I have a question. Is it possible that Lavender Brown didn't die because in the books, all it says is that she crumples after Fenrir Greyback bites her? So is she a werewolf or more like Bill? Or dead?
Oh yeah, right. Man, it's a good question.
Well, so let's see. The short answer is she's dead. For sure. I think that's just like canon confirmed information.
Like externally or somehow within the series.
What? Oh.
Like,
in the series?
Like does it say that she's dead?
It doesn't say that she's dead in the books. It's like externally been confirmed.
Okay.
Yes, so that answers that question. However, had she not been dead, and that was still open to interpretation, I do not think she would have been a werewolf, but more like Bill.
More like Bill.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a strange battle because like a lot of the stuff that seems to be happening in those final like showdowns seem like they all match up rather nicely. I mean, I know that we've brought it up before that we would really love to see, possibly like Neville attack Bellatrix. I mean, as great as Molly doing it is, there's like a kind of, like Neville earned it, like
right, yeah,
like there, like it kind of seems like he has that right of first refusal,
right, yeah.
So there is that. The other one obviously is that we'd be super in favor of Lupin facing down with Fenrir because Fenrir is the one who bit Lupin himself. I mean, it's quite personal, but then they've also now at long last found themselves on opposite sides of the same war. So yeah, it's strange. Like I feel like there must be something clever about the fact that it's lavender brown, unless it's just someone who we actually got some decent page time with who just dies kind of a terrifying death.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, there are like a lot of poetic ones like Percy and Arthur taking down Pious Thickness and Hagrid getting Walden McNair.
Yes.
And then, even Hermione, Ginny, and Luna fighting Bellatrix. It's kind of like, oh yeah, all the three girls, fighting the main female antagonist or whatever.
Right.
And then you have McGonagall, Shacklebolt, and Slughorn. It's like, oh yeah, like all these big hitter wizards. And it's like, look at that. The Kingsley, the future minister, McGonagall, the stand-in headmistress, and Slughorn, the Slytherin who changed sides. And
it's all very symbolic.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is really symbolic about a lot of those scenes is the shapes that are being formed, because you have these three-way attacks that are happening two at once because you have Bellatrix and Voldemort, where you have three wizards fighting one. So those are forming triangles, which I think is kind of interesting because you've got three good wizards fighting one bad. And, which, I mean, if you wanted to make the argument that's a square, that's fine. But like I see it as a triangle because it's like
Voldemort's in the middle.
Yes, right. Yeah. But then you've got the flaw in the plan scene where Voldemort and Harry are going to circle each other in a perfect circle, and then they will finally shoot the single bolt at each other that meets in the middle. And if you put those shapes together, you get the Deathly Hallows.
Right. Yeah.
So you have the triangle, the circle, and the line.
And the line.
And the line even includes the Elder Wand.
I mean, the circle is the stone, isn't it?
The circle's the stone.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say Harry takes off the cloak though.
That's true. Yes.
Right. In that moment. So two of the Hallows are even present for this exact moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the other major piece of symbolism that I think's going on. So the lavender death by way of Fenrir is one of those where I'm kind of like, I don't know if I fully get it, other than it's just kind of somebody who we've gotten to spend a lot of time with who tragically perishes at the hands of someone who's just so vicious.
I know. It's just I think it's just like it's nice when there are the little poetic ones, but also like war is messy and random death will happen kind of thing.
True. Yeah. So I think that's a fair question. But otherwise, it doesn't seem like he's transformed. It seems like Fenrir would be just super dangerous otherwise.
Oh, I know. Like that is a change if they make in the show that like if they just want to make the final battle like at full moon, I think that would be way cooler.
I mean, yes, because I think that I would play it very similar to like how Avengers Endgame played out, which is sort of like give each of the major characters like their moment to do their thing. Even if that other battles are happening like off in the distance and stuff, like if you have the moment where like the sun peeks out of the clouds and all of a sudden these two like lock eyes from across the way and it's like they're both going to be in werewolf form and it's just going to be a battle to the death.
Right.
I don't know. It's something.
Right.
Even if like Lupin defeats Fenrir and then somebody else kills werewolfified Lupin, like you would still like, because that is the other the other liability is that Lupin as a werewolf is still dangerous.
He still dies.
He still needs to die because that's just part of the plot and
Right.
Harry taking care of his son going forward as his godfather, and like providing him the parental figure to an orphan Teddy, that Harry didn't get. So that seems like it's needed. But Lupin as a werewolf inside of a battle, even if Fenrir is dead, is then a liability.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
He's still like, I don't think we can have a world where all of a sudden he's just a good werewolf who's just going to like follow commands, because that's not how werewolves work.
Right. Yeah.
So
don't think so.
I think at that point, probably what happens is Lupin gets the victory over Fenrir, but then unfortunately is immediately taken down by someone else.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe Tongs has to kill him so he doesn't kill other people.
Oh
That'd be pretty
no,
terrible.
that would be terrible. I can't think
That'd
about
be
that.
pretty
Can't think about
terrible.
that. And we have to think about something sunny.
I know.
to
Well,
cool-
also we know that Lupin he can like take him down, but he actually can't kill Fenrir, because I think we know that Fenrir doesn't die as of the Ministry ride opening at Universal, because he's one of the Death Eaters, quote unquote, that like helps Umbridge on her trial day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
yeah,
like he makes it out.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, he gets out of there. Okay, well, so that we're not ending on such a sad thought, I'm gonna remind you of my favorite line from this particular chapter, which is curiosity is not a sin.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good one.
you
So
go.
something to keep in the back of your brain. Or if you want to get a tattoo of this chapter art and put like potatoes in the bowl or a salad or I don't know, pumpkins or something, just whatever feels right. to you.
Whatever feels right.
Let us be your inspiration.
Yeah.
But I think that'll do it for today.
There you go. Yeah, that is going to do it for today. But make sure you join us for next week, which is going to be a great chapter. It is chapter 31, the third task on Through the Griffin Door.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.